Chris Hansen, I guess, has a YouTube, and he has this thing called "Have a Seat with Chris Hansen," and it features, let's see, featuring Wes Most. I don't know who that is. The CC Unit, Alex, and Daniel Warner discussing EDP445. It's nice to see that EDP, I guess, is getting some negative attention still, because God knows he's not going to get arrested. I mean, at this point, I don't think that they're really actually investigating anything. They probably don't give a shit. Like I had said before, you know, I think the biggest thing we're going to have to do is have like more of like a social attack. EDP's still feeling far too bold because he had made his website, though I think he finally, like, I think it got doxxed, is my understanding. So I think he's completely shunned off of the internet. So that's good. Though it does come a little bit late. Comes a little late, but then again, like, I don't expect Chris Hansen to be up on the latest of what's going on the internet in this way, so I'm not going to be too critical of that. Hopefully something positive comes out of this, though. Let's see what let's see. Maybe he can, I don't know, maybe he has some kind of pulse in like the police community. I thought this guy was going to CC, didn't. Maybe he has some kind of a pull in the police with the police or something. I don't really know. But my understanding, and this is my understanding, so don't take this as like an objective fact, because I was, you know, I haven't, you know, whatever. I'm not fully, but my understanding is he botched the Onision thing. This is what people are saying. He botched the Onision situation by, like, I don't know, trying to perform more than actually arrest. He fucked with like the. My understanding is he fucked, I think, with the information or something, and it made it so that Onision couldn't get arrested. Maybe, you know, that's what my understanding. So let's hope he doesn't do it again. Well, let's see what we got here.
Good evening and welcome to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. I'm Chris Hansen, and tonight we are going to take a look at the strange, disturbing, bizarre case of Bryant Moreland, EDP445. I'm just going to be really honest with you right off the top here. A lot of people in general on
61.
social media and here at YouTube.
Trying to figure out if he looks good or bad for
asking me to look into EDP445 for weeks and weeks now.
Oh,
I'm
really?
sure you know the story, or at least the backstory a little bit. EDP445 is a very prominent YouTuber, 2 million subscribers, but he's controversial, and I really don't get why he's so popular. I mean, I sort of do, I guess, but
he says the N-word a lot, and he is a conservative, I guess. Not even like that. I mean, he is a conservative, but that's not really what it is. He's just like he's really edgy, and kids like that. Like, that's, there you go.
He has done and said some very sexually inappropriate things with underage girls.
True.
He promotes himself as being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. He's a bit of a foodie.
Was that a criticism of him? Like, was that like a joke or something, or what? Like, hey, he's a Philly. Hey, you know, he likes to touch kids, but he's also a Phillies fan, so fuck that guy. Am I right, guys? Go other team. I'm not a big into sports, so I don't really know what I can't be as clever as I'd like. But it was just a weird. It was a weird, like, hey, he does some questionable things, like he supports the Eagles. Like, what the fuck? Whatever.
But more and more disturbing allegations started to surface. And I resisted, honestly, wading into this.
Why?
Because I just thought he was a gross guy making money in a gross way.
Okay, so you heard about the predatory allegations, and your first thought was, this guy's kind of gross. I don't want to talk about him. Quite literally, all pedophiles are gross. So, like, what? This is just coming off very bizarre to me. Okay.
And he ultimately was outed.
Maybe he's just trying to, like, use flavorful language to rev it up like a TV show host. I think maybe that's what it is. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, because so far this is like a weird intro.
By 2 vigilante predator catching groups, predator poachers, with the help of CC Unit. And I know of these fellas. Predator poachers, Alex is controversial in his own right.
Yes, he is. He openly calls black people the N-word unapologetically. And then when he's like, hey, do you think it's inappropriate to literally call black people the N-word with a hard R constantly? He's like, no, it's just a joke. Like, you're just too much of a snowflake. He's like, he's not even like ignorant. Like, somebody says the N-word, like, you know what? Like, we got our JS, right? So JS she says the N-word, but she's like at the very least, like if you can't even apologize for it, it's weird. And like the worst part is that like we're having this conversation when it comes to like exposing EDP because it's very distracting. And I really just don't understand why like his perspective isn't like, yeah, you know what, I was younger and ignorant. Because even though he called the black person the N-word with the hard R, I'd be like, okay, at least you like that, you know, I'm not personally offended by it, so like it's not me to forgive or not. But if you were apologetic, I'd be like, okay, decent person, you apologize. Wouldn't even apologize for it. He came onto my stream just to tell me that he let a black person stay with him, so it was okay that he was racist. That was what he told me. The black person reached out to me. What's funny is the black guy even said he really didn't like the racist humor that he goes out with, comes out with, and still defending him. Good for you. Alex probably doesn't hate black people, but he very certainly doesn't respect them as individuals, because then you would just not use that word. So yeah, that is the truth of the matter. Hopefully, we won't have to bring that up again moving forward. Though, I don't think that's something that you should gloss over so easily. It's like, yeah, he's a controversial figure. He just loves saying... It would have rhymed if I said it. The N-word. You understand what I was going to say? I wasn't going to say it. But you get it. It would have been like Dr. Seuss. But Dr. Seuss was also kind of racist, so it would have been just like Dr. Seuss.
Not advocate these vigilante predator poachers in any way. I
tend
to stay away from them. I don't.
What do you mean you don't advocate for them? You're quite literally platforming them. I mean, that's fine that you are. Like, whatever. Most of the CC unit is fine. They're professional. But how are you gonna tell me that you don't like this? How are you gonna tell us what? I don't like the whole the vigilante justice. But then why are you platforming it? It's a little confusing. They just don't say that remark. Okay, whatever.
Collaborate with them. They make me very nervous on a number of different levels.
Aren't you also kind of a vigilante thing? Just a little more professional?
Alex also got jammed up, and rightfully so, for making some very disturbing racial remarks. All of this okay. fits into the big narrative here because EDP445, Brian Moreland, happens to be a person of color.
Well, let's just keep in mind, Alex loved EDP before this whole thing, probably because EDP kind of does like invoke racism. I mean, he's just a super edgy figure. I don't know if I've ever seen him say anything racist, but like that's the space. Like, and I know that from like more of an yeah, I used to be pretty edgy myself when I was younger. You know, I never played Call of Duty, but you know, we understand the toxicity of particular things. Yeah, I used to play online video game. Well, I do. I'm literally playing one right now. But I used to play like toxic competitive online games, so I know the edgy space is. It's just complete brain dead. Like, it's just all a bunch of dumb jokes, like really racist and bigoted remarks. Anyway, let's keep going through this.
So, with that volatile cauldron of controversy, our good friend and creative collaborator Wes Most and I have been talking about this for several weeks now, and Wes diligently has put together a video piece you'll see in a minute talking about all of this. And
we might skip
joins
that.
Me now to
we might skip that because we know everything, and if you don't,
why it's important that we went after Bryant Moreland, EDP445. Wes, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Chris.
So, how did you first hear of EDP445? And what was your initial?
Well, I used to be a pretty big fan of the guy.
Show that he.
Okay, I guess we're just not going to put down Tremor.
Well, to be honest, my first time hearing about him was when the confrontation happened with Predator Poachers and CC Unit. Before that, I'd never heard of him. I'm an NFL fan and I'm on YouTube, but even with 2 million subscribers, that's just a fraction of the actual people using YouTube.
You're a liar, dude.
But when I found his content when researching for this.
This guy knows who he is.
I can't understand the appeal, but then watching the confrontation, Alex said something pretty telling. He said, "I used to watch you in high school."
Wait, this is great so far.
A lot of his fans were younger, were that kind of humor, that kind of brashness and like potty mouth language, because there's really no other way to put it.
It's foul. It's not creative. It's not intelligent in any way. There is absolutely no intellectual integrity, but.
Wait, I'm in on this so far. Okay.
Dig into this because it's disturbing.
Sure, okay.
allegations
I'm getting on Chris Hansen's side. I was a little critical at the beginning,
really,
but
really,
I'm happy that he's not just having like some brain dead fucking take on this situation. Like they're actually calling out shit that needs to be called out so far. Okay, all right.
bothersome, and there was a controversy surrounding him and rumors swirling around EDP445 about inappropriate contact with underage girls. And it was the Predator Poachers group posing as a 13-year-old girl that got in contact with EDP445.
Okay.
And there was a conversation and a confrontation in Bakersfield, California. And Wes, that kind of got your attention. So as you'll see in a minute, we talked to Alex of Predator Poachers and to Ghost of CC Unit, who helped out here. But what's the most troublesome thing about this, Wes, in your mind, in terms of what YouTube allows?
Well, I think the most troubling part is that these allegations, these aren't new. There's a YouTuber named Cold Raven who I don't think should be left out, who, back in October of 2020,
yeah, probably not.
Made
Cold
content
Raven was
pointing
like,
out
he like really spearheaded
a third
this.
of the EDP had over 600,000 Instagram followers, and he only followed about 150 people, but a third of them were females under the age of 16. And he pointed these things out. Cold Raven himself, posed as a underage female and had also screenshots of conversations that EDP had with him posing as this underage teenager. So these allegations have been out there. And while YouTube was quick to act when the actual confrontation happened, I don't think it needed to get that far, because if that would have been a real 13-year-old child there, then some actual harm would have happened when it was already uncovered almost a year ago by people on YouTube itself. So that's the most troubling part for me, is how far does it actually have to get before someone will take action?
That is my concern as well. And Wes, let's take a look at the piece that you put together.
Yeah, people really just don't give a shit. For some reason, people don't care about these types of behavior. I feel like I just feel personally like that wasn't a great intro for to set the tone for what we're doing here. It's like, hey guys, this is some serious allegations against an actual person that harms children. Cut to it, guys. Sounds like I'm on a fucking morning talk show. That's not the tone that I've. What that's. Okay.
Okay, that clip you just watched is from a YouTube video posted by CC Unit.
So
the whole video lasts nearly 55 minutes, which shows two YouTubers.
I think he's just old.
Attempt to catch a man they say tried to meet up.
Good morning, pedophiles. Like, good morning, America. Like, why that's the energy we got from that. Like,
with a 13-year-old in Bakersfield.
All right, I think it's just his being old. This tone is so off. All right.
Puerto Rican Prince, co-Raven King of the Ravens. And right here, I've been asked 8 specific questions about EDP445.
If you're watching this video, you know exactly who the f you are. Let's cut the bullshit.
I remember
games. The time for and fucking around has come to an end.
Okay, well, I don't give a fuck about that.
Are you really doing this?
Yes. Okay, it's
It's so funny. Like, come on, can you look a little bit less guilty? Just a little bit less guilty.
Okay.
Me where? Watch me, nay. Watch me where? Watch me, nay.
Why do we?
Hold on, the stanky leg. Hold on.
This is former YouTuber Bryant Moore,
What is this edit?
aka EDP445. At 30 years of age, he had amassed an impressive 2 million YouTube subscribers and over 600,000
Oh, we didn't
followers
CC
on
anything.
Instagram. Bryant started his channel on June 13th, 2010, and he would upload his first video the same day.
Lay it to my ass, bad luck when I get 12 all up in there.
Okay.
While rapping was not his forte, he would find success 5 months later on November 16, 2010, when he dropped the first video about his beloved Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Just like that, and at only 19 years old, a career was launched. This is 30-year-old Kyle Swanson.
What's up, guys?
Okay.
He's a U.S. Army combat veteran and one of the founders of KTS Predator Hunters.
Got another one today.
Oh.
And it's an interesting one.
Kyle claims to have brought hundreds of offenders to justice, and while his YouTube presence isn't quite as large as EDP's, he has a loyal, fervent fan base eagerly awaiting each catch. Both of these men are 30. They both gained some level of fame on YouTube, but that is where the similarities end. Because while one has built a name for himself outing and shaming suspected child offenders, the other gained fame eating large portions of food, talking about football,
Saying
and
the
breaking
N-word.
overmatched Chipotle toilets.
My bad, y'all. I'm busting out a YouTube video, dog.
Dude, the tone of this video is fucking awful. What the fuck? Even they're memeing it. What? How, like, honestly, it seems weird to me. Like, people, okay. I feel like there was probably a more serious way to go about a literal child predator, but I guess not.
And we better get the out of here, dude. I just overflooded the toilet.
That is until April 2021, when Moreland would achieve a level of nationwide notoriety he never expected, when he was captured on video showing up at the home of who he thought was a 13-year-old girl.
No fist bump?
I don't fist bump people like you, man. To be honest.
Okay.
Allegedly, to pursue a relationship that had blossomed on Instagram. Today, one of these men is going about business as usual, while the other is worried for his freedom, facing 2 Class 4 felonies as well as a Class C misdemeanor in connection with an online sting. One of these men was forced to hire a lawyer, pay
Interesting.
a bond, and prepare for a court battle. And the other one, he just wanted dessert.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
Are they gonna put the
In
fist bump clip in there?
world of online predator hunters, law enforcement is starting to take a stand against what they call vigilante justice. And the outcome of these 2 cases could send shockwaves throughout the communities they so passionately serve.
That's how much I love you. Okay, delete your archives and remember, Mrs. Kayla Marie Armstrong, I love you more than anything.
To Catch a Predator debuted on November 11th, 2004 and was a pop culture phenomenon.
Did you bring any condoms?
Yes, I did.
Casual viewers may not remember, but the first few episodes of To Catch a Predator didn't include police involvement.
Well, yell at me, why don't you?
And some viewers were unhappy that these confrontations didn't end with arrest.
See, we're doing a story on computer predators.
Oh, no. Come on,
Is this about their own thing
This
right
show
now?
didn't truly explode in popularity until various sheriff's departments began doing parallel investigations, and the offenders were marched away in handcuffs.
Sheriff's office.
Patterson steps back into the house, and an officer shoots him with a taser gun. Only one probe stays attached, so the taser is unable to shock him and drop him to the ground.
Almost 15 years after the last episode of To Catch a Predator aired, the show continues to gain new fans and inspire on YouTube and beyond.
Why'd you get into it? Initially, I grew up watching you.
With the proliferation of cheap cameras, 4G networks, and video sharing sites, a new generation of predator hunters would soon rise.
She's 15, Roger. You can't do that. Roger. Shame on you, Roger. She's only 15 old, Roger.
predator.
YouTube would allow these groups a platform to broadcast their catches to the public, sometimes live, to rabid spectators excited to follow along in a POV format. Accused predators have been named and outed live, often before the police are even aware of this person's existence. It's the Roman Colosseum for the digital age, and the crowds can be just as hungry for blood. While some groups have aided the police in bringing these offenders to justice, others have been charged with entrapment, kidnapping, and assault. For every Nito with Pop Squad, who's been publicly applauded for his role in aiding the police, there are those like Kyle Swanson, who I briefly discussed earlier. In one livestream catch from November 2020, Kyle posed as an Uber driver to pick up a man who allegedly believed he was on his way to meet a child. According to police record, Kyle allegedly refused to let the man out of his car before ultimately delivering him to the police station.
And I'm not going to tell him until we're at the police station, and you guys can
Jesus
listen
Christ.
to our conversation the whole way there.
Oh, I guess this is why the guy is
As soon as we get in the police station.
I guess this is why the guy is
I'm gonna let him know. But, hey,
getting arrested. It
you know
seems
why
fucked
we're
up
here?
though.
The viewers in the chat were enthralled throughout the trip as the passenger casually chatted with the driver, unaware he was being recorded and watched live. 7 months later, the passenger, who for all intents and purposes did appear to be on his way to meet a child, has never been charged with the crime, while Swanson himself is facing multiple charges and is now forced to
Yeah, I guess I understand why it would be considered illegal. It's just like you know, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. I don't know what this picture is though.
Giving up the fight against online offenders. It happens more often than you think, and it's the main reason law enforcement has tried to dissuade these groups from operating. Despite a damning chat log, despite showing intent, and despite the best of intentions, a possible predator was allowed to walk free so he could potentially harm an actual child.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, honestly, this is one of the things that really gets me. Is this one of the things that really gets me? Is that I feel like we need to change our standards around, like, when it comes to, like, these types of situations, right? So, as of right now, it seems almost impossible to set up and catch, like, an actual predator. Even with all the information, like setting them up and going through the 9 yards, that doesn't seem to do it. There usually has to be like an outside force. Like they have to have like actual like material on their computer. That seems to be what actually gets people caught. If they don't have that, there doesn't seem to be like any way that anybody can get arrested. It's crazy. And so what I really do think that we need to do as we move forward, I think that we need to start changing the standards of how we catch predators, in the sense where we should make it easier. If you're somebody that is attracted to children, and there's like some way to find, I don't know, like, and you have this type of evidence, like, you should get that help you need, we'll say. I know that sounds shitty, but you know, here's the thing. I hate to say it, but pedophiles aren't child. Just because you're a pedophile doesn't mean you're a child molester, right? If you've molested a child, I mean, I think that you should, you know, go to the island, we'll say. But if you haven't hurt a child and you're attracted to children, I think that we should provide like avenues to like put these people in some kind of, I don't know, situation, like some kind of facility to, I guess, help them get the help that they need, because nobody chooses to be attracted to kids. But you can't do anything. It just walks free and then nothing happens. And then it's like up to them whether or not they want to pursue some kind of mental health help for, you know, being attracted to kids. And it kind of puts us in like this weird situation where we really just don't get any results, honestly.
Justin, are we right? You know what you were doing was wrong. You were dating two 12-year-old girls that you thought, and you sent pictures to them, and you were planning on taking the 12-year-old girl's virginity today.
I wonder if this guy's like mentally, like, a lot of times the people who tend to do this are like autistic or something. That's not an insult. That just tends to be the way that it is. And you know, I wonder if that's like a factor. You know, it gets into like this weird territory, because it's also the conversation where like a lot of the people who are autistic, they probably would never actually be able to sleep with a kid. I know that they still need to be like called out and like taken care of. But one of these things that happens is when you set people up, when you kind of set people up for this type of thing, what ends up happening is that you're pushing them beyond a boundary they may be actually comfortable in doing, right? So, like, in a normal perspective, you have, like, an adult, and usually these adults are, like, have something, like wrong with them, like they might have autism or something, and they talk to the kids. Now, the kids that they're normally talking to aren't going to encourage them to meet up because they're kids and they're, like, apprehensive. The adults posing as kids, though, would do that. That's what they do. That's what you kind of have to do in order to catch a predator, right? But it creates this situation where you push the person beyond what would normally happen just in order to set them up, where they probably would be too afraid to do that in the first place. And then what happens is that you push them to that level. Nothing happens arrest-wise with those people. And so then they get they feel more empowered to do it again because they don't face any consequences for it. It's just like the whole system up and down is fucked. We're really just not having the conversations we need to be having about this type of behavior, in absolute honesty.
Yes or no, Justin?
If that sounds familiar, it's because almost the exact same scenario would occur in April 2021 with the handling of the EDP sting.
You said you want to punish her, you sent graphic photos, you asked for graphic photos, and here you are, walking to the apartment.
But before we go there, let's travel back to the summer of 2020 when the first warning signs started to appear. In July 2020, whispers began to spread about allegations of inappropriate behavior between Bryant Moreland and teenage fans. In response, EDP released a video clearing up rumors that he had been voice chatting with underage minors.
They decided to screenshot the shit and fucking record it and all this extra fucking bullshit and fucking look at him being a pedophile.
His fan base thought nothing of it, accepting his explanation and chalking it all up to his dark humor.
That's kind of where so with the Cold Raven thing originally, I remember it, and it was like a little bit wonky. I remember getting the information from Acrello that there was like an account that like he had set him up on there, and then like I looked at the account, like the Cold Raven setup EDP. I logged into it, and a lot of stuff was deleted, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. But EDP's response was basically admitting to what he did wrong. Like he basically admitted it, and that's a lot of times that's really the only way that you catch like these people is that they fucking admit it themselves afterwards. It's crazy.
Do you honestly think that I would sit back and throw away my life for some fucking punk ass that barely even has fucking hair on her motherfucking pussy, for a fucking bitch that probably can't even count up to 100, my
yes.
Get out of here, man. Fuck that, dude. Like, come on, for real, for real.
One of the first YouTubers to take the allegations seriously was Cold Raven.
Hey, yo, what's poppin'? It's your Puerto Rican prince, Cold Raven King, motherfucking Raven, straight out of New York.
A brash, football-loving YouTuber who at the time had just a few thousand subscribers.
You don't even care about the minors. I mean, we've seen the DMs. You confirm the ages in the DMs and still compliment calling them babes and beautiful and all that sexy. What is wrong with you?
In October 2020, Cold Raven released a video where he would accuse Moreland of messaging and following underage women on Instagram, posting what he said were screenshots of their interactions.
Just keep in mind, this has a 30-year-old man talking to like 16-year-olds. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? It's fucking nasty.
Instagram, you'll see that around 30% of the people that he is following are girls between the ages of 15, 16, and 17. And when all this pedophile dropped, we knew about one girl. And then a second girl came out. And then a third girl came out. And as of today, a fourth one has just dropped. Yep. There's now a fourth girl, which makes me ask the question, how many more are out there?
Cold Raven also pretended to be an underage girl himself and claimed Moreland sent him explicit messages as well. This was a risky move for Cold Raven and he knew it. He was making these allegations against a much larger channel. EDP fans wasted no time in harassing him and accusing him of embellishing a story for recognition, attention, and clout.
True.
Rather than reply to these renewed allegations, Moreland would release a video simply titled, "My Response to Cold Raven." In the video, Moreland eats chicken wings, stopping only to pick up and cock a gun.
Spooky.
Before continuing to eat.
These wings is bomb, man.
It was a threat. Cold Raven didn't let up, putting more and more pressure on Moreland, all the while doing his best to ignore the mob
Weird
of
name,
EDP
just
fans
resubscribed for 2 months.
Hey, thank you so much for the
445 has just been
resubmitting.
caught texting a fifth, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. A fifth underage girl right here. He called her cute in her comments.
Cold Raven wasn't alone. Fellow YouTuber Master at Work, who had his own following in the NFL commentary community, would also join in to expose Bryant. Master at Work and EDP had been personally feuding for years, at one point even planning to meet for a one-on-one confrontation. In the months after EDP was exposed, Master at Work became the go-to source for updates and exclusive EDP news. But in October 2020, he was just another voice yelling against the wind.
Instead of focusing on what my channel was made for, which is NFL football content, and making people laugh, now I'm stuck being a predator poacher online for one of the most hated people within the sports community.
Time went on, and the once gathering murmurs about EDP445 became dull whispers, and it looked like he would get the last laugh, until he met the decoy.
And before we get into the messages, there was sexual content involved, yes or no?
Right.
And you said
correct.
Okay, all right. And again, I have it right here. I know the answer, but I just need you to tell me the answer. How old is she?
13.
13, okay. And before we get...
The conversation started on Instagram.
Oh,
You remember when EDP sent her poop?
literally just woke up and I'm taking a shit right now.
Using a fake account posing as a 13-year-old, the decoy messaged Moreland on his verified account in February of 2021. Before long, Bryant and the supposed to be 13-year-old would engage in a sexually charged conversation.
When you say specifically, I've always fantasized about someone younger with a big age gap. You did say that, correct? Yes or no?
Correct.
That you fantasize about someone younger.
Correct.
What is that fantasy? Because it's not just loneliness.
You know what it is, man.
We really don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
That included images too disturbing to share.
Yo, what up, motherfucker?
The chat log ended with the two agreeing to meet, leading to this now infamous confrontation.
So this is you texting all this, correct? This is your Instagram, yes or no?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Moreland admitted to talking to 6 underage females and fantasizing about minors.
Screenshots that you've always wanted to be with someone younger. Like you fantasize about being with someone younger,
right,
and you're scared of being a sting operation or cops.
Right.
Like
he would admit to a lot of things that day.
Now, as far as the whole fantasy goes, you know what I mean? Let's be real, okay? You know what I mean?
Like, that's the part where I'm not picking up on. I genuinely don't know what you mean. You've been exposed for this before.
Correct.
And you called them... So, you did admit you fantasize about 13-year-olds, yes or no?
Right.
Okay. Do you also fantasize about being submissive to 13-year-olds a little bit, yes or no?
Right.
Only to backtrack and refute them later.
My mom did not raise a fucking... Okay? She did not raise...
Apparently she did.
I know what the screenshots say, okay? I'm aware of that. I'm looking right at them, okay?
There was no police action taken that day or even in the weeks after. Instead, Moreland drove home, undoubtedly contemplating his future with the loss of his one source of income weighing heavy on his mind. His fans would be far less inclined to give him another pass, and Moreland knew it was just a matter of time until his confrontation was the topic of the day across YouTube.
Somebody said in the chat, like, why didn't he just use a burner account for this? It's an interesting question. It opens up a lot of things to talk about, because I'm assuming he was doing it because he's an idiot and he thought he could just do whatever he wanted, and he had a large platform that he could leverage against people. Like, that's the biggest reason why, I would say. But what's so interesting about it, though, is that that's a really dumb move that most people would be like, yeah, that's dumb. But now that he got caught, but he's not really facing a lot of punishment. Now that he's not really facing any punishment or a lot of punishment, like, he's empowered to do it again. You know what I mean? And he'll be better at it next time.
EDP445. I've got no idea. Like I didn't even
Like,
know.
I mean, he's obviously lost his platform, but like the punishment, like legal punishment, like he's gonna end up doing it again.
This was.
So YouTuber EDP445.
The rise and fall of EDP445.
He's been embroiled in some controversy, and this isn't the first time.
Get ready to back the prison bus up. Pick this dude up.
EDP would private the videos on his channel after the confrontation, and the video of the sting operation would reach almost 2 million views in a matter of days. Many of the people associated with Moreland denounced and cut ties with him.
Good.
Alex Rosen too would come under fire, as troubling videos using racist and other disturbing language were
You mean literally calling black people the N-word? Like that video?
unearthed from years earlier. The public conversation quickly changed from discussion about EDP to discussion about the character of the person involved in the capture.
Let's keep in mind, like I want to be very clear here. It's not just about his character. It's not that that he said these things. It's that he refused to apologize for those things. It meant a lot to him to be racist. It means a lot to Alex to be a racist individual. Like it means everything for whatever reason. I couldn't fucking tell you why. That's why it's hitting him so hard. He defends everything he says. It's all just a joke, and it's funny to call black people the N-word. Like that's his whole fucking defensible point.
On April 27th, 2021, both EDP and Alex Rosen would have their channels banned from YouTube. The Hunter and the Hunted both expelled from one of the world's most popular platforms with the push of a button at Google headquarters. This could have been the end of it. A double knockout blow where both combatants are down, even if Moreland was the clear loser. Only, it didn't stop there.
So, just want to let you guys know, man, EDP445.com is coming soon. It's been about like a week, maybe 2 weeks from now. I'm going to have a fucking website up and fucking popping and shit, you know.
As Moreland put it,
right.
Leaving YouTube wasn't the end. This was just the beginning.
No, I think it's the end. I'm pretty sure somebody doxed the fuck out of that website or something.
Out and pissing all over because you feel me?
On May 2nd, 2021, just 5 days after his channel had been terminated by YouTube, EDP triumphantly announced a comeback. This would be achieved in the form of a website he would presumably operate and control.
So with that being said, man, EDP445.com. It's coming soon. Website is going to be crack-a-lacking.
A few days later, on May 6th, Moreland would double down on his denials about the decoy with a new video, this time going after Cold Raven.
That punk-ass motherfucker Cold Raven? Yeah, I see your little bitch-ass over there.
They got the whole fucking timeline
just
there.
go ahead and give it the up, my nigga. It's a fucking rap.
Master at work.
Really bad censoring.
You and that punk-ass motherfucking rat-face, snagger-tooth-ass, bitch-ass, buster motherfucker Tyson. You know what I mean? You a snake-ass piece of shit, bum-ass punk motherfucking loser, and you ain't about shit.
Anyone who had a smaller channel than him.
Those little punk-ass, what? 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 subscribers and shit? That's your motherfucking lifeblood. You feel me? I could sit back and take a shit. I could take a fucking piss, my and piss out 5,000 subscribers. Give it the up, bro.
And of course, Ghost.
You in that
That's probably the only amount of subscribers that he really has left. There's a bunch of dumb people that like really don't care. Probably the other fans of his that were also pedophiles. You know what I mean?
Punk ass motherfucking mask wearing dweeb dork short pit squeak ass motherfucker, the CC unit. Motherfucker over here looking like a goddamn short ass fucking elf looking nun ass motherfucking shit with that big ass dashiki mask and shit on.
And Alex Rosen.
What the fuck?
Chet Goldstein. Or should I call you Alex Rosen? Fuck these N-words and all that. Your credibility is bro.
Another.
I like that they said, like, at this point, he said the N-word 12 times. Like, yeah. I mean, it's a little different because, you know, he's black. And even if you don't accept that, he's also not saying it with the hard R at black people. Yeah, EDP's a scum fuck, so.
Laden video would follow days later. This time, Moreland threatened to file a restraining order against Master at work for what he claimed was harassment.
This has to
I don't know if it is.
stop.
It was justifiable, right?
You left me no other choice. You're over here sending motherfuckers to my apartment complex, posting flyers and shit. You're over here on Reddit and Discord and all this extra you know what I mean?
I'm so happy that this happened.
And I have decided to file a restraining order against your ass.
Oh my god.
That means you cannot
That means the government will officially be protecting a pedophile. That would be what it means. That's what it would literally mean.
About me, you cannot send motherfucking goons and shit. You feel me? To my apartment complex, posting flyers and shit, trying to get a hold of my immediate family.
Hey, did he do all that? I remember watching the video of posting flyers. That's awesome. What a fucking stand-up guide. I'm not even memeing. Like that is what needs to happen. Like, yes, thank you. Somebody's doing the right thing. Post flyers about how this guy is a fucking child predator. For real. All over town. How much do I need to give you to make more flyers? Is the real question, I think.
Close friends and shit.
EDP claimed armed intruders were knocking on his door, bothering his family,
Oh,
and
no.
said one visitor even dropped a cup.
Bro, if anybody in my family found, like, if they thought that, or they found out, if I was a fucking child predator and people in my family found out, they would beat the shit out of me. And that was what we would do to anybody in our family that was a child predator. That's why we don't have child predators in our family. I do want mac and cheese. Yes, thank you.
Cake at his. He just wanted dessert.
What the fuck did just happen?
It's up for you. EDP claimed armed intruders
Oh, I got
were
it back to
knocking
the
on
right
his
spot.
door, bothering his family, and said one visitor even dropped a cupcake at his home before rushing off. Too bad he didn't know. EDP claimed he didn't even like cupcakes.
I never was.
Well, he did that. They must not know. Did they not know that he did that as like a meme because he's like, "Oh, I'm here for a cupcake." That was funny though when we found out like he doesn't even like cupcakes and he was there for a cupcake. So he must really fuck that up.
a huge cupcake eater. You know what I mean? Always been a little bit too sweet for me.
Jeez.
People were losing.
Just the tone of these videos are so bad. Like at this point, this situation has really become a fucking like a meme where people aren't even taking it seriously. Like we've like, really like this fucking Chris Hansen is now memeing it. Like that's where we've. Oh wait, what the fuck? Oh shit.
Interest as the EDP videos got more ridiculous and rambling, and the news cycle grew stale. Moreland would learn soon enough that for someone like him, the only thing worse than being infamous is being irrelevant. Cold Raven has moved on.
Apparently, I have the golden standard opinion when it comes on to this dude because I predicted literally everything that would happen. And I'm the one, who showed the information. I'm the one who unmasked him. And I was the one, who got this ball rolling. And here we are.
No longer wanting to discuss EDP, as it was never the kind of content he wanted to do. His passions lie elsewhere, and he has poured his time and talent into creating content on a new channel.
He said, I'm no longer be covering this unless something crazy, absolutely absurd happens.
Master at work for his part is also leaving the predator hunting to others and focusing once again on sports.
My message to anybody,
It's crazy, dude. Could you imagine that like you made a YouTube and you're just trying to like enjoy yourself. You're trying to get a big following for like your sports commentary or whatever you're doing, you're on your grind, you're putting out videos, you're doing your work. And then like your community gets so tainted by like a person like EDP, because that's what happens, that you feel the need to call it out, and then you get fame for that, and it's really stressful. It's really stressful to be in that sphere. So like I feel bad for these guys, where like they just wanted to do their thing, man. I feel bad.
trying to use their YouTube fame to try to entice minors. Don't do it, because the bigger you get, the more of a target you're going to paint on your back for people that's going to want to take you down.
He kept the public up to date with leaked text messages, shared receipts, and personal interviews. Like this one, with a Bakersfield community member posting flyers around the city to warn citizens about EDP.
What a legend.
He doesn't care. He's not going to get help. So you know what, EDP? This is
It's
my town.
It is true though. It is true. Like EDP's like, I'm gonna get help, this and that. We have to realize that regardless of this, how serious the space is, people will just say, I'm gonna get help or I'm gonna see a therapist or something. Because simply because that's just like a talking point. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna get help. What does that mean? What is the help you're gonna get? What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? It's one of those things where, like, when somebody says I'm gonna get help, you have to start following up with, like, how? Where are you gonna get help? Because, like, it's crazy. I mean, he's just talking himself out of the situation, and it worked. It fucking worked.
I'm gonna let people know that you're here, and I got posters right here to let them know that there's a living right over there next to a freaking park in a high school. I'm gonna start posting right now, all right here, so they can see your face to know that you're around here.
This guy's awesome.
So
I love this guy.
Start posting this stuff.
Master at Work's beef with EDP was largely personal, as it has drug on for almost a decade. But other than the occasional update, his work is complete.
Which is part of the reason I stopped covering the story, because I had a personal issue with EDP going on for the past 8 years when we were supposed to meet up at an Eagles-Patriots game, and he wanted to fight me.
If he had one thing to say to EDP now, what message would it be?
This is karma for the past decade of being a misogynistic, racist, clout chasing, egotistical predator.
Is that to Chet Goldstein or is that to EDP? All jokes aside, listen, those things are all bad, but I don't really give a shit about that as much. I just care about the kids more. Yeah, I get it. The racism is bad, sexism is bad. Like, those aren't good. I just wouldn't call it. I just personally wouldn't call it fucking karma for that, because it's not karma for that. It's karma for using your platform to try to fuck kids. And I really think that we should really, as a society, come together and really just drive home that the worst thing in the world is somebody who harms children. That is it's worse than anything else. I feel like we don't treat it like that. I feel like we just kind of don't treat it like that. I feel like a lot of these predators get away with it, and it's fucked up. And it shows like a clear lacking in society.
The aftermath for the predator hunters has been a mixed bag of experiences.
Dodging
After initially being hailed as a hero, Alex Rosen lost a channel. His reputation was attacked, and his dreams of becoming a detective are possibly dashed forever because of racist, incendiary comments made years earlier.
No, that's not true. Oh my God, they're trying. That's an objective falsehood. He's not, dude. These fucking idiots got it wrong. This dude, it's not that he said these things. It's that he doubled down on them. He thinks that they're appropriate. He did it live on my channel. He's like, it's just a joke. Get over it. You're a snowflake. Literally calling black people the N-word with the hard R is a joke to him. Like, this isn't that he said fucked up shit. It's that, like, he still believes that these things are okay. That's why he would rather lose his platform than not be racist.
Contrast that with the earlier case of Kyle Swanson. In both scenarios,
bro, look at that. They're trying to paint this kid as a fucking hero. Wow. Holy shit.
Due to a lack of police intervention.
Dude, don't compare him to this guy. This guy's not a racist piece of shit. Just before, we were talking about how this other guy was like, yeah, EDP is finally getting taken down. Karma for being misogynistic, racist, whatever. And it's like, no, that's literally what's happening to this fucking Chet Goldstein kid, Alex Rosen. Because by the way, so you got people close to him DM'd me. They told me his real name and a bunch of other information. And they were like, yeah, he chose Chet Goldstein to be anti-Semitic. Like, I don't know why, because apparently he's Jewish. I guess he just thinks it's funny. But, like, this is the caliber of person we're talking about.
Involvement of online activists, but perception matters. After posting a GoFundMe for help with his legal fees, Kyle was able to raise over $10,000 for his cause.
Good. That's good for him, man.
Law enforcement may not want their help,
but
the public seems to disagree,
I need to
showing
take that.
overwhelming support in the forms of donation and kind words, urging Kyle to keep up the fight. That doesn't mean Rosen has lost all support, or that his fans have given up on him. Quite the contrary. They may not be holding protests to show their support like followers for Kyle Swanson did in Illinois, but the Predator Poachers Network, CC Unit, and Rosen himself are gaining more admiration and followers with each.
It really just would have been nice if he could just not, if he would just say like, yes, I'm a race, I was being racist, and then he would just stop. Like that would be probably all that has to happen. But again, he values being a racist more than he values anything else. It's crazy. It's fucking insane, dude.
Bust.
Are you really doing this?
There's somebody here to meet
You're here to meet a 13-year-old
who has solicited photos. There's somebody here.
Are you really doing this?
Yes. Okay, it's apartments.
What the fuck did this pull from?
I asked Alex which punishment he thought was worse, jail or being publicly exposed.
Jail?
In his words, it's the same. A wake-up call will either make you stop or it won't.
What, are you fucking dumb? What are you talking about? Jail is much worse for a pedophile. What are you saying? You'll probably get the shit beaten out of you or worse. Good. What? Is this kid fucking... Are you guys all fucking dumb? Like, what is this? Is this Reading Rainbow? Like, what's the energy and the tone of this dumb shit? This is ridiculous. I love how, like, they're really, like, the Predator Poachers is, excuse me, Chris Hansen is really running, like a campaign to, like, try to rekindle this guy. It's crazy.
Are you serious?
I don't know what apartments.
What do you mean, come on, man? We're trying to get you help, dude, because you're not going to get help.
And that's the major difference. Because they operate outside the constraints of the law, the goal for these activists and the goal for police are vastly different. For most predator hunting groups, public exposure is the goal, and while an arrest is always desirable, it's considered more of a bonus than it is a requirement of the catch.
Right, because it's difficult to get that.
Law enforcement wants these groups to stop, citing them as a nuisance to the way of justice. But for hundreds of thousands of subscribers and viewers across the world...
But I mean, if they don't do it, nobody else is going to.
These groups are credited with keeping communities safe and assisting overtaxed police departments. Will there be a time soon when the police and predator catchers can work in tandem to identify and bring down suspected offenders? Perhaps. But until that day comes, the uneasy existence between the hunters and the hunted will continue to balance on the razor-sharp edge between trial by jury and trial by internet.
Let this be known, I am not a...
Ultimately, it's up for you to decide which is the stronger deterrent.
Jail.
EDP marches on.
It's kind of an
His
objective
videos
truth.
are just as loud, just as explicit, and just as ridiculous as before.
The website will be launching later this week, where we will whip our dicks out and piss down motherfuckers' throats, my. You feel me?
5 weeks earlier.
I don't even know what to say, man.
Yeah, dude, shame on you.
What the creation of this video, I should have walked out of this. The website is not working, so like it's not up. Probably should have mentioned that it's not up.
Shame on me, man. I'm speechless, bro. Yeah. I'm speechless, dude.
He's speechless.
Behind the scenes, some within his fractured circle are growing concerned. Moreland has allegedly shared various pictures of high-powered weapons and displayed what some have said are illegal firearm magazines. That shared concern for his safety, as well as the safety of others, got these pictures into the hands of Master at Work.
This is a 100 round.
Well, who the fuck is worried about EDP safety? I don't think anybody is. I mean, like, what's the narrative potential? Like, worried about his safety? What is he gonna use them on himself? I'm not gonna be upset about it. Like, okay.
7.62 by 51 Scar magazine. Oh my fucking god! You want to play rough? Okay.
And it's pictures like this that remind us how dangerous these confrontations can be. This is just one in a number of telling images of just how lucky Ghost and Rosen are that Moreland didn't bring a weapon that day, and instead came armed only with weak excuses.
You're coming out here to pick up a cupcake?
People are at their most dangerous when they feel they have nothing left to lose. And on that April day, Moreland lost everything he spent 11 years building.
I just want this EDP situation to be over with. I want him to be arrested and charged, and so I could wash my hands of the situation once and for all.
EDP445 was living the dream. He was doing it on his own, and he got there by grinding, and now it's been ground away to nothing.
Good.
His website will most likely fail,
shit.
as they usually do. Support will be minimal, sponsors won't go near him, and whether he's monetized by paid membership or affiliate programs, he will find just how hard people are willing to work to avoid supporting an alleged predator. And maybe that's the true takeaway here. All of these conversations, all of these questions, all of these scenarios are just noise over the most important part. Bryant Moreland was identified and exposed by 2 predator hunting groups and later deplatformed as YouTube took quick action along with Facebook, Vimeo, and others. Moreland had a chance to explain his side. He was invited to sit down with Chris Hansen and explain the innocence he has proclaimed since he left the scene of the sting. He contemplated it twice, finally deciding he was only willing to do the interview if he was paid $17,000.
An interesting number.
Quite a princely sum to declare he did nothing wrong. The writing is on the wall, but for EDP445, who prefers to keep his eyes closed, this isn't the end. It's the beginning of something new.
This ain't the end. This is just the goddamn beginning, motherfucker. You feel me?
That same Bryant Moreland, who once hustled his way to a massive online following, will go down in history as yet another YouTube cautionary tale of someone who seemingly had it all and lost it when they...
That's a weird framing. I'd say it's more of a tale of like how there are very dangerous people who become famous and they weaponize their platform. So the wording is weird. Maybe I'm being a little bit pedantic here, but I don't know. The fucking framing is bizarre. I'm kind of annoyed by the Chet Goldstein framing of like, oh, it was just he just said those things a long time ago. He doesn't believe them anymore. It's not that. That's not the case. It's just fucking crazy.
You tried to take down good old Eat That 445, my, but guess what? We still in the flesh. The movement will continue. You have failed, my nigga.
Right. I'm happy there's a lot of good censorship here. Okay. Okay.
Allegations swirling around EDP445
That was
have
quite
been,
a lot.
well, prevalent for some time. But it was the work of predator poachers, Alex there and Ghost at CC Unit, who teamed up on this investigation, 2 vigilante groups, that exposed EDP445 this last time, leading to a chain of events where EDP445 is no longer on YouTube. And we'll get into this in a minute, but neither is Alex of Predator Poachers. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Alex, Ghost.
Hello, how are
Alex, let's start with you. You have an organization called Predator Poachers. It's a vigilante group that goes after child predators. How big is Predator Poachers?
Well, not as big now as it was a month ago. We got taken down, but still pretty sizable. I can proudly say that we're an international group, including in Toronto, and that's about it for international. But we are all across the country. We have Southeast Texas.
What? We're an international group because we have we're in Canada as well. Okay, I don't know if I'd call that international. Fine.
Texas, which is 2 hours to the
leading to this now.
What the fuck?
We think we've got. Did you start doing this?
All right, click the button on accident.
That's about it for international. But we are all across the country. We have Southeast Texas, which is 2 hours to the east of me. We have a West Texas chapter now, so that's 3 in Texas. And we also have in Massachusetts and, you know, across the country, Michigan too, where you are right now, or your friend is. So we're like pretty much everywhere. And I'm proud to say we
You're in
caught
Texas and
over
then
300 child predators with countless arrests too. So, you know, I'm proud to say that this was done by predator poachers for sure.
How many of the 300 or so people exposed in your investigations have actually been prosecuted, and how many have been convicted?
There's been a few that have been sentenced already, and there's a lot of pending right now. For example, in Maryland, I got to go to court in October, but a lot have been arrested and a lot are awaiting trial. So a lot are in the process right now. And I know in Ohio, I don't have a number, but PP Ohio has quite a few convicted. I don't know the numbers for the other groups, but I know that it's over 10 that are either going to be convicted or sentenced or awaiting trial and all of that. And I know there's countless arrests that are like, just
pending
in the jail.
So 10 convictions, you think, out of 300 or so actual predators exposed?
Yeah, that's ballpark, but more are coming for sure.
Probably not. So one of the things is, like I was mentioning before, the reason that these people get convicted isn't because they get like exposed in this sense. It's because that they end up having like some kind of like explicit material on them as well. The unfortunate nature of these types of things is that like you really don't get anywhere doing this. Like they usually the setups just don't work. You know, a decent lawyer usually gets you off, and there has to be like entrapment there as well.
And what protocols, Alex, do you have in place to make sure that this is done fairly with integrity and you don't have an entrapment situation? Obviously, you can't have entrapment as a legal
of course,
defense here because you're not law enforcement. We all know that.
Right.
But in terms of fairness and the ability for law enforcement to prosecute, what protocols do you have in place for that?
So we always make sure to state our age quickly, as in the first or second message, or have it in the profile. Like, for example, with EDP on Instagram, in the profile, on Instagram, it's not an age-restricted app, so we can put that we're 13 in the profile. So we always have the age showing in their face as quick as possible. And if it's something like Grindr, we make sure to hide the age, so they can't say, I messaged a 23-year-old, I messaged this. They don't know who they're messaging. All it looks like is they're messaging an underage kid. And within, like I said, the first or second message, we always state the age. So we give them that fork in the road before they can even eat. You know what I mean? So
and what's the threshold for setting up a meeting?
The threshold for setting up a meeting is they have to want to do something in person first. So if they say, oh, I want to meet you here and do this, well, that's easy. Then we just give them the spot. So, or if they say like, hey, I want to hug and kiss you and do this, well, obviously you can't hug and kiss over the phone. So we're like, oh, when do you want to do that? And then they say when. And then from there we can say, oh, well, I live in these apartments. So we always make sure they say it first. Like if somebody's a predator, you don't have to make them into a predator. That's what we always say. If somebody's a predator, they will be a predator. So we don't really have to do too much to make them a predator. So.
And why did you start doing this, Alex?
I've always wanted to be a police officer. And at 19 years old, I couldn't just go be a police officer. So actually, I've seen your videos before, but I really started watching your videos and Anxiety War, Just in Pain. And I was like, well, damn, this looks very interesting. And, it's another way to like help the community in some way. So it's a win-win here. And, it was.
I wonder if he pushes him on the racist shit.
It was a very interesting experience, to say the least. And then when we started to do it more, we're like, holy shit, this is too easy. It's a problem. Like, it shouldn't be this easy that people are just so hell-bent on meeting an underage kid. Like, with the first night that I did it, I posed as a 15-year-old on Grindr, and this guy that worked in the medical field in Houston already wants to meet for sex. I'm like, this is probably a fluke. But, like I said, it didn't take long for us to understand that there's just so many of these people. And ever since then, we've just, it's been our passion. We've been, doing it.
So where do you typically meet the alleged predators? In a parking lot, in an apartment, in a hotel?
Oh, man. I wouldn't say there's a typical place at this point. We go across the country doing this now. I want to say we have it arrested in like 9 states now. But, I'd say the most common place is we give them an apartment to meet at, and they come in, and we always tell them, like, actually, I'm not going to say what we always tell them, but, we give them an apartment to meet at, and they go meet at the apartment.
And when you reveal yourselves, what do you say, what do you do, and have you had any situations where there was violence, where somebody got hurt, where there was danger?
Yeah, I remember he like set up a boxing match with one of them, and he said that if they'll box him, that they can go. That video was sadly removed from the channel. I don't know why he allowed it to stay up in the first place, but yeah.
The only time that somebody has swung at us, luckily, was a very small dude that makes Ghost look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he was that small, where he tried to hit at the cameraman, but he just scratched him, and it was more like hilarious than freaking danger. But that was the only time, luckily. And the thing is, how we approach them, we want to get the jump on them. So the key for me, what I've noticed in these past few months, it's all about eye contact. Like if you are direct, I mean, we're all organisms, we're all animals. We're like the smartest species on Earth, but we're still animals when it comes down to it. And if you show that you're stronger, and if you show that you're you're firm, they're typically gonna fold pretty quickly. So what I've been doing is I go up to them and say, hey, I was the one talking to you the whole time. I have everything right here. It's in your best interest to have a talk with us. And from there it goes on, and it typically goes well.
What happens after the confrontation? They just walk away?
No. When we're out of town, we always call the cops. We've tried in Houston, but Houston's obviously a very big city. And with Houston, not as much luck with cops as in small towns. But in small towns, for example, out of town, we always report to the cops. That's a must for us. When we were in Oregon this past week, we've had all 3 people that we caught in Oregon are all arrested. And one of them was a sex offender, and he's screwed. So the other 2, I don't know what's going to happen. But, they were all arrested. So we'll see what happens with all that.
And how do the law enforcement departments react when you call and say, hey, it's Alex from Predator Poachers, and I'm here, and I've got my team, and we think we've got a guy who's trying to meet a underage boy or girl?
It all depends. It's I'd say most of the time when we explain what's going on, they're typically cool with it. And the people that are they don't take it seriously at first, those people, they end up seeing the chat logs and see that these predators are truly sick. When we're talking to someone out of state, it's going to be a long time because we can't just say, hey, I want to go to Nebraska tomorrow. It typically takes a while. So in that time, they send some nasty shit. So they have no choice but to either arrest or investigate. So they're like, yeah, I mean, it's nasty stuff, and something needs to be done.
And Ghost, how did you come across Alex? And how often do the 2 organizations work together?
Yeah, so I came across him on YouTube as well.
Oh, I thought he was part of the organization.
I didn't actually start on YouTube. I started on a different website, but I came across him on YouTube. I saw that he was doing the same thing that I was doing, but in Texas. And then I actually shot. It was either me or him. We shot each other a message back on Insta. We met on Insta. We started, texting on Instagram, and it's actually a funny story. The first conversation we had.
What do you call you, the N-word? That's funny.
We met on Instagram,
that was a funny
and then ever since then we were good friends. And then he flew out to Cali a few times to collaborate, and we actually collaborated in Arizona as well. And we collaborated in Arizona and Cali before, so pretty good.
And
work.
what kind of a revenue stream did this produce for you, Alex?
Well, the past few months it's been good, but other than that, I'm 21. I'm living, it's enough for me to pay my rent for sure, and to go fund my obviously extravagant diet. So I'd say it's good for that, but I'm not living it up. But
look at Chris Hansen's face.
What you do for a living, though, based upon historically what you've made from YouTube.
It's good enough to do that, and it's blessed me enough to be able to employ friends that I grew up with as the camera people. So it's good enough for that, but it's not good enough for me to not drive a 2010 Chevy Suburban that breaks down every 2 minutes. But it's another story.
So you're not getting rich, but you're paying your bills.
Correct.
And Ghost, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get a paycheck from this. I don't get
Why the fuck is this guy wearing what is he wearing that thing for? Is it haven't we all seen him already, or does he try to hide? I'm confused.
The only type of revenue we get is from donations. Just this past
why?
couple
Why does he always wear that?
Gas prices have really risen up in Cali. I actually went to Sacramento yesterday. I drove over 10 hours just to get someone, and he's actually got arrested last night. He was arrested by the police department in Sacramento. But like I said, we don't get a paycheck. We don't get any. If you think that we're making really good money off of this, that's not true. We're just we're getting bare minimum donations from this. And that's only, and we can only travel the across America just because off of those donations. Other than
Right.
that, we wouldn't have been able to.
And how often do groups like yours, Alex and Ghost, collaborate between states, for instance? And what kind of legal issues does that cause? Does that raise?
I can't speak for any other groups. You know, I'm like predator contented out right now. Like I don't really watch other channels like that anymore now that we do. So I don't really know what other collabs go on, but you know, I know me and him have collabed 4 times in, you know, between Cali and Arizona. And as for legal issues, we haven't really run into any legal issues. So I don't know.
And one other thing, we've collabed a few times, and we have an arrest of a high school teacher in Los Angeles, and we got an ordained minister in Arizona also caught, which he's also under investigation by Yuma, Arizona, because that's where we got him, Yuma, Arizona.
What the fuck what is he doing?
Our collaborations are pretty good because the thing is, me and him, we have such a big
Where the fuck is he going? What is happening right now?
reach across America because he's huge in Texas, I'm huge in Cali.
I wonder.
So
I would like to know if
collaborate
Chris
on
will actually ask him about the racist shit. Yeah.
catch, the word spreads quick. It spreads
He
all
just
across.
moved to the
and then it's
passenger
bound
seat
for
of
that
the
individual
car.
to get recognized.
And so, how many people do you have actually working with you, each group, Alex?
Oh, let me think. Well, let's see. There's people like that are like my friends that just help out from time to time, like either if I'm in their city or, you know, if we're just hanging out or whatever. Like all my friends are into it, which is cool. But how many people I'd say are like helping? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then me. So that's 7 of us. We're a pretty big group.
And Ghost, how many in your group, CC unit?
So I have like around the same thing, like 6. I have like security, and then like sometimes camera people come with me, and sometimes if I need editing or like driving over there. So I have like around 6 people as well, 7 people.
And who does the chat work? Who does the online decoy work?
Who's going first?
Alex, go ahead.
Okay. So at first I did pretty much all the chatting, and you know, the people that were with me at first, you know, they were just as new to it as I was, and they didn't really want to do any of the texting. I'm like, you're going to do the texting. So now we all do it, and then now at this point we have decoys that do a lot of it, but we all share multiple Instagram accounts. So, you know, these predators, they're pretty much living it up. They're talking to 6 people, which is, you know, great for them, but you know, not in the end. But you know what I mean? Like we're all 6 of us share like an Instagram account that do the chatting. Or
what
7.
made you target EDP445?
Well, the way I say it is, we don't target anybody. He targeted us. We've heard these rumors about him that, you know, the chat logs were very real, but god dang, man. I've been a big fan of him since high school, man. Me and my friend Keyshawn always used to watch EDP. And, you know, I saw these rumors about him and I knew about it last summer. And I was like,
it's so weird to like proudly state like, yeah, I was a really big fan of him, because that doesn't really speak well to your character. I mean, EDP. I mean, we already know the story. I mean, Chet's an unapologetic racist, so I don't even know why I'm being a dead horse at this point.
He's kind of pushing the line here, but it's a voice recording. He's acting weird, but he's not really getting too much into it. So it's like, Then there's more things happening, and you know, we're like, screw it. We're just gonna.
He was being a little pedophilic, but it wasn't enough. I have a limit on how much of a pedophile you have to be before I consider you a threat. Okay, great chat.
Say we like your videos. That's what we said. So we hit him up on an account that said we're 13, like you said in the video. Hey, I like your videos. Big fan. He's like, thanks, keeping it real on these mofos. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's it. Then 2 days later, he messages us again, and we're like, no way. Then he sends a picture of his crap, and we're like, okay, this guy might just be weird.
His feces in the toilet.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did. Yeah.
He sent that to somebody he thought was 13 years old.
Yeah. Very shitty chat logs, I should say. But he Yeah, so there's that. It was like the most. It was like the
Bro,
weirdest-
look at that. He made that really like the joke. Like this is the time to be more professional. I mean, it just seems like Alex doesn't know when to be a fucking professional person. Like you're talking. This is supposed to be like a serious conversation, and you're making fart and poop jokes. And even this guy's nodding his head like, bro, like just you don't need to be making a bunch of puns right now. I mean, this is supposed to be serious. I don't know if this guy knows when it's time to be serious.
weirdest like thing. I've never seen that from Predator before. But you know, then he got sexual with us, and we're like, no fucking way, because these girls that he would hit up, they were underage, but the chat logs didn't look as bad because they're not interested in him. Because in the end, he's a 400-pound man. He's ugly as crap. So, you know, they weren't interested. So that's why I didn't. That's why it looked dry. But we pretend to be interested, like as a decoy would. That's when he really showed his true intentions. Like, yeah, I want to basically. He had one of the worst chat logs, wouldn't you say, CC? Freaking dungeon.
Yeah, when I read over the chat logs, I was like, wow, this guy is sick.
Give me a sense for the chat logs.
So his chat logs basically went from shitty, literally, to really shitty. Like he talked about throwing her in a dungeon, sneaking into a window, taking her into his car and throwing her in the dungeon. Of course, that's, you know, obviously he doesn't have a dungeon, but the fact that he's fantasizing about that and projecting those fantasies onto who he thinks is a 13-year-old girl, it just shows how twisted he is. Like that's basically a rape fantasy that he has with this 13-year-old girl. And he wanted to teach her how to have sex, which is very typical probably. And he wanted to basically, you know, he sent videos of him wanking it, man. Like he's, you know, yep, of course, he's horrible, man. He's just he's a piece of shit. Like there was no stretch that we had to make to go get him. It was very like, okay, he's like one of the worst.
Yeah.
And so you've got this very graphic, sexually inappropriate, probably illegal chat.
Yes, like
and you decide to go confront him.
Yes, we've caught people for way less, for sure. Like, yeah.
And you're in Texas, so you got with Ghost at CC unit because he's in California, and that's where EDP445 is, and it was Ghost who actually did the confrontation. Or both of you?
Yeah, no, we both did it. We both did it. I had printed out a pair of chat logs for each of us, and we were basically, bad cop or whatever, just tearing into him. And he admitted everything. And to this day, he's still being investigated, as far as I know. And
who's investigating him?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. I'm not going to say the detective's name, but very recently, we recorded phone calls of EDP, but since, the phone calls were recorded in Florida and he's in California, both those are two-party consent states. So the detective said now, like pretty recently, because at first he wasn't sure yet, but he pretty recently said now they're good to use because they're part of a criminal investigation. So the two-party consent thing goes out the window.
How did he react when you confronted him, and where did you confront him?
We confronted him at these apartments. Pine Ridge, I want to say that's where the apartments are in Bakersfield. And so we were waiting at this Jack in the Box, like it was kind of like raised, and the apartments were like kind of like down ground level, and so there's a ramp going up to the apartments. So we're waiting for his car. We knew which car he drove already because we like just looked it up, and we're waiting for this car to zoom in. But instead, we just see this this Michelin man looking dude walking around the corner, and he's going. Yeah,
it's just like there's literally just there's just no understanding of when it's like time to stop like being unprofessional. Like I just don't. I mean, this dude carries himself like shit. Like we get it. EDP's fat when he sent people as shit, but you don't have to constantly keep making puns about it on probably the most professional platform you've ever been given before. It's just very bizarre. It blows my fucking mind.
Going up the steps. Well, they saw it. They're like, Alex, look, there he is. I'm like, where? I'm like, oh my God, that thing is huge. So then we, got down, and we thought we lost him for a second because he went up the ramp and we didn't see where he was. But luckily, that's where his 400 pounds came in and saved us.
Yeah, see, like I knew the joke was coming. Like it just has to. This guy's it's just so annoying, bro. It's so annoying how unprofessional this is. It's pathetic. He looks like a fucking idiot right now. Like, he looks like an absolute fucking moron.
See, then he got tired, and he was just waiting, like, on the ramp. He was like, oh, And I ran up to him like, hey, what's up, EDP? And then he's like, fist bump? And I'm like, fist bump him. I was like, so I was Sophie the whole time. And then from there, the rest is history.
You took some criticism, Alex, for not really confronting him in a professional way.
A lot of criticism.
Setting out the accusations and merely making fun of him for being big, taunting him, as opposed to
making fun of his penis, just constantly making jokes, just shitting on the situation, like making it look really unprofessional, causing people to not care, like all these different things, turning it into an instant meme that causes people to like tone out, all these things.
Having some sense of decorum and saying, look, what is the deal here? It appears that you were trying to solicit a 13-year-old girl for sex after a very graphic, horrifying conversation. Now, I'm not, obviously, in my position, going to defend anything this guy has done. It's horrible and creepy, and I get, why he needs to be exposed. And people have been coming to me for months about doing a story on this and exposing him. So I get all that. But
I feel bad for the one kid down here. I feel really bad for that kid because he seems pretty professional. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like he's trying to do the right thing. And it seems like Chet Goldstein just drags him down. Just unprofessional. Like, it's crazy.
Is it right just to go up and prank this guy and make fun of him when the allegations are so very, very serious?
Well, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as,
it was like you were trying to embarrass him, and I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, really.
That's
what he did is what he did, and that's horrible.
Well, this is the hard thing. It's because, like, listen, like, it's not about whether EDP is or isn't a human being or not. Like, nobody gives a shit about that. That's a serious fucking situation where this guy tried to rape a child, and you're making a joke about it. And it just, to me, it means that you just find it funny that this guy is a pedophile. It's fucking incredible, and like. It's just fucking insane, dude, and he just doesn't care.
Horrifying.
To me, this makes it seem more like Chet goes after, or Alex goes after pedophiles, so that he feels like it's justifiable to bully people rather than to go after them to get them off the street.
That's how we do things.
Good part of my career defending children, so I get that. But it didn't seem very professional to me.
That's fine. The way I look at it is, the confession is the most important part, and we went back and counted. He admitted he either knew she was 13 or his intentions 44 times. So if you look back at the footage, he admits stuff 44 times. So, if we make a few jokes, a few jabs here and there, that's just how
use exclusively.
I do things. So I don't look at it as unprofessional. I don't think that takes away from it. I just think it adds a certain element to it.
The question is, are you holding somebody accountable, or are you making a circus out of this to get clicks and money?
Oh, shit.
There's also talk that you withheld the video and the piece until you could figure out a way to maximize the monetization of it.
Yep, those are all things.
Get it out right away and say, look, this guy's dangerous. I'm just doing the right thing here. How do you answer that?
Of course. Like I said,
listen, we understand people need to make money, so I understand like re-editing it and trying to upload it and get it monetized. But then he kept saying, like, guys, it's he would just like constantly plug, like, guys, I'm trying to get it up. If you pay me a bunch of money, you can go look at the unedited pictures of this, that, and the other thing on my website. And it was like it really felt very performative.
As for it is important, but the thing is, he did get exposed already because everybody was talking about the video before the video dropped. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we wouldn't want to make something back because, we're 21 years old. We're not sitting on piles of money. We flew to California. We drove through California, or at least he did, with, obviously California gas prices are pretty ridiculous. Like, traveling isn't free. Staying in hotels for multiple nights isn't free. And then putting in months and months of work. So, of course, we're going to try to, obviously get money out of this because it isn't just there's a
difference between trying to get money out of something and like milking the fuck out of it. Like, that's what you did. There's a pure difference in general.
Doing this for the money, but of course, like, traveling to California just isn't free, and it's just disingenuous to just call us money hungry for wanting to make something from it. And we ended up dropping the video
very
when
defensive.
It was demonetized. We did not get the video monetized when we dropped it. We waited till we got back to Houston to drop the video. Like, we didn't drop it in California. We spent one of those days editing it. So we were really sitting on the video for like 2 days maybe. And we typically drop videos.
There's just like 2 days, Jesus. There's just like a lack of professionalism here, just fundamentally.
videos weeks after, because there's like an order that we post them. So there's videos that we did like in April that we still haven't posted yet because there's just a backlog of catches to post. So we moved EDP to the front of the line.
Why?
And we
Why is there a backlog of what's the backlog from? From what? Timed releases to make sure you have steady content.
EDP.
That kind of just proves that you're doing this in a performative nature. No, this is like there's no air of seriousness to this guy. It's a very business oriented thing. Almost every other person that's trying to get predators off the streets in these videos has been the kind of person that's like doing it because it's the right thing to do. But the California gas prices, it's true. You got me good that way. Even this guy who doesn't really make any money, he's just trying to do the right thing. He should make money, but like this is like there's a third option here. There's not making money. There's trying to milk everything, and then there's making money doing something right.
Or put him up before he put up a sex offender. Like we wanted to, the sex offender came next, but.
Well, that makes it even seem even more like if I think you should have put the sex offender up first then, because he's a literal. I mean, I just don't understand. That makes you look even worse because by your own admission, you're saying that you didn't try to expose a worse person because of the fame of EDP. I don't know. It's just weird to me that they still have videos that haven't been posted yet.
People said we withheld it. We rushed EDP. We rushed that thing. Like the night of, we made sure that was edited. We tried to upload it, but we couldn't because the Motel 6 Wi-Fi just wasn't good. Like we weren't holding on to it as long as the narrative said we were. We dropped that very quickly.
EDP445 has denied any wrongdoing. He claims that you created the transcripts, falsified them.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And he claims that you played with the editing of the video. How do you respond to that?
Well, he clearly must not watch our crap then, because he knows we have the most poorly edited videos ever. And yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I guess we did. I guess him saying I know it was wrong 44 times. I guess that was fake too, and we were actually just holding a gun to his head the whole time. Apparently, I guess, maybe, I don't know. So,
Ghost, what do you think you accomplished with Alex on this?
I think we definitely accomplished saving future victims from this guy. I mean,
possibly.
If you actually watch the video, you will hear him say, that this is my 5th or 6th child that.
It's so hard to. Here's the thing: like they exposed a pedophile, which needed exposing, but like honestly, probably nobody would have ever slept with EDP. No child. This is what I was talking about before, where you have these situations of these predatory individuals, and they go after kids, and the people they're interacting with are plants, right? Decoys. That's a better way. So they're not actually kids mentally, and what I mean by that is like they push to meet up, push to meet up with something that a kid would most likely not do. It's still a good thing that they did it. It's just like there's a really big conversation around the standards we need and like how it should be easier to expose predators, the pedophiles, before they do anything. Get them into a facility to get them to stop doing that, and then if they do it though, you know what the punishment is.
That I've talked to online.
But it's a good thing that they did. He just did it a terrible way.
This guy's a liar.
I feel bad for this guy.
So if he's admitting that he's talked to 6 or 5 different children before, just double that number, triple that number, because we all know that's more, but he's just admitting to that because he wants to lessen the number. But yeah, like I said, we saved.
Bro, he asked him a question. Shut the fuck up. You don't stop talking. Let this guy fucking talk.
Future victims from this guy, because this guy's a celebrity. This guy's a popular YouTuber,
but he's never been criminally prosecuted. He hasn't been prosecuted yet in this case, although it sounds like he's under investigation, and we'll,
Right, and that takes time. The detective told me on the phone there is good evidence on him, and along with the real females that he's talked to.
I feel like Chris Hansen probably knows the outcome better than anybody else from experience.
Hopefully that should support it. And, the detective said Kern County's district attorney is pretty harsh on this stuff. So, I'm hoping that something happens. Of course, we don't know what the future holds, but it's all right there, all in front of us, So.
EDP has been taken off of YouTube, demonetized, deplatformed.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much out of business. He was making a lot of money with millions of followers. Do you feel that was a victory for you?
I think censorship is just evil.
Bro, are you fucking kidding me? He was just asked if it's a good thing DDP got pulled down, and Chet Goldstein's like, yeah, I think censorship's evil. It's a fucking pedophile. What the fuck? What are you kidding me? Yeah, it's a great thing he was pulled down off of a platform so he couldn't use it to try to fuck kids anymore. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Censorship's evil. Where's your fucking limit, you moron? This guy is disgusting. What the fuck? Dude, I'm mind fucking blown. How are you going to defend a pedophile? Yeah, censorship's evil. Oh, it's just, we can't have a conversation. This is the guy that loves calling black people the N-word with the hard R. That's why he said that. Just so you know. Objective truth. In fact, it's just fucking crazy to me. It's just crazy to me.
However, he was using his platform to go commit crimes and solicit minors. So if you're using your platform to commit crimes, that's a whole different story.
Why'd you bring up the censorship is evil thing
I'm glad
then?
he's deplatformed,
There we go. Great.
And in the process, Alex, you got.
I did. They got me. I know.
So what was the cause of that? What did YouTube tell you?
In the email that YouTube sent me, because my Predator Poachers channel got deplatformed, on April 9th, we caught him on the.
I just find it crazy. He's like, hey, so how do you feel about EDP getting pulled down? Well, I don't like censorship at all, but I guess it was like a good thing that he got pulled down, right? Like, it's a good thing because he was using his platform. Like, yes, but why do you feel the need to like defend? Like, censorship isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, we can have conversations about the social line and what isn't acceptable in society. Things like being a pedophile deems censorship is a good thing for those people who use the N-word with a hard R, call black people that. I'm fine with censoring those people too. Most conservatives are as well. They don't really care about that. They're fine with people being deplatformed for calling black people the N-word. There's just like no nuance here to this guy.
So a week before. And so the reason for Predator Poachers being taken down, it was on one strike, which is ridiculous, but it was for harassment and bullying, and like, damn. And then for Chet Goldstein, we had re-uploads, which I'm sure they took us down because the whole EDP situation and the whole little, oh, Alex is a bad guy too. But the reason they gave me was that I had content uploaded from a terminated channel. So I had 5 of my catches reposted from Predator Poachers, which I didn't even know you can't do, but they took it down. That's the reason they gave me.
So you had 2 channels. You had Predator Poachers and Chet Goldstein.
Correct. Chet Goldstein was the second channel. Yep.
Got it. Mm-hmm. And there were also issues.
Again, my understanding is that the Chet Goldstein moniker was it was intentionally, it was an anti-Semitic name. Like, it was like a fucking, like, he thought that was funny, which is weird again because he's Jewish. But
with you using racially insensitive, offensive language on your channel, did that play any part in this? And how do you justify that?
Not in YouTube's email to me. They didn't say it. And
you know what I'm talking about. There was some very racist, offensive language you used.
Yes, those clips were from 2 years ago.
That you defend. Defend every day.
No, I know what it is, but they weren't on the channel. And
doesn't matter. You defended them.
In YouTube's email, they didn't mention anything like that. But
Bro,
as for
he's
that,
walking away from the question.
It's definitely a bad look to have.
A bad
when
look.
You're doing something
What's
professional.
racist?
And I know that now.
Oh my God!
Did it in a racist way at all,
bro? He's saying he did. Dude, this guy's a fucking moron. Oh, I don't know if calling black people the N-word with the hard R is racist. Like, I mean, just because the word is fundamentally disrespectful to black people, does that make it racist? I mean, I did let a black guy sleep over my house one time, so like, I can't be a racist. So like, it's not really racist. What? This guy's a moron.
Use the N-word.
I did.
Yeah, 3 times.
So does that taint?
You called black people the N-word with a hard R 3 times. Like, it's indefensible. It's crazy.
What could have been otherwise important work because you used harsh, racist, offensive language?
Yeah, what he's saying is like, yeah, you would rather be a racist and not apologize. He's literally here not apologizing. He could have just been like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But he's like, oh, it was a bad look. I wish people didn't know that I was racist. That would have been nice. But I really need to be racist. I have to be racist. I can't apologize.
And what were you thinking when you used that language?
I don't know what I was thinking 2 years ago. Me and my friend were screwing around, so I don't know what I was thinking.
So just apologize. I can't do it.
No, I don't think that connects to.
You can't defend that language.
He's defending it right now. He's trying.
I don't have a comment on it. I've already addressed it in a video that I posted. So if you want to go, well, I didn't post it, but if you want to go watch that video, I already addressed it. I don't really want to talk about that. I'd rather just talk about catching predators. And
hey, I'm a racist and I need to be racist. I can't apologize for my racism. Let's move on. If you are a bad person, it's going to make it very difficult for you to go after bad people. This guy's an objective fucking idiot. Here, just so in case anybody in the comments wants to know, there we go. This is him addressing it. There we go. This way people can go in there and be like, hey, here we go. We got the racism.
Not something from when I was a teenager.
Self-promotion? This fucking idiot is an unapologetic racist. Okay?
Consider yourself, Alex, a vigilante?
No.
He's sweating in his car right now. Look at how upset he is. He's what are you thinking that he wasn't gonna get caught? I don't understand.
I don't say I break the law to enforce the law, because I don't know the law that I break by doing this. I consider myself more of an activist, or I guess not really.
I consider myself an activist. Wait, I can't say that because I don't like social justice warriors or black people.
Journalist, more of an activist, because we do care about making a change. I do want to one day run for office, and this would be my platform.
Did this guy just said that he wants to? Did he just say he wants to run for office? What? I'm fucking flabbergasted.
Say, hey, HPD has four online sex crimes detectives in a city of 2-point-something million, which is, the ratio is 1 per 500,000. And say, hey, instead of arresting people for having a plant in their pocket, why don't we
just call them the N-word? It'll be funnier, and people will get a laugh. That's my position on weed.
Put a lot of resources into catching child predators that actually cause victims, because I don't believe if there's no victim, no crime.
Here's the problem.
You're a
racist. I want both of you to address this. Just days before this interview, I was at CrimeCon, which was in Austin, Texas this year, and I presented about journalism in the digital age and television and my latest projects. And in another presentation, I was with a commander from ICAG, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. And what they say, and these are the guys, these are the experts, these are the ones who know what they're doing, is that they don't like when guys like you do these investigations because it harms what they do, and it creates the impression that in many cases, guys you catch get away with it. They walk away without facing legal consequences, and it gives them a sense of impunity and lawlessness.
100% true. I mean, listen, it's unfortunate because police officers seem to be worthless when it comes to catching predators. Actually, probably be our legal system more than police officers, so I apologize to the police. But that's what happens. They get caught, and then they get released, and then they do it again. Because now they are like, oh, well, I got caught and I got released, and now this is what happens. They think okay, these are the things that when I was doing this I was uncomfortable with, and now I know to when I do it again not to do those things. Not only that, but a lot of these predators would not actually sleep with the kid. I know that sounds weird, but they're so nervous about the legal system and getting caught and doing the wrong thing that they stay bottled up. But when you force them into a scenario where you push them past their comfort zone shifts to be more comfortable talking to kids and trying to meet up with kids. You're making them better at it. That's kind of what happens. And I'm not it's an unfortunate reality. That's why we really need to have a whole ass fucking conversation about the way that we deal with these types of situations.
They just go right back out and do it again. And I've talked to several law enforcement agencies across the country ones I'm about to work with, the ones I have worked with, who just think that you are a bigger problem than a solution. How do you respond to that?
Awesome.
We're definitely not a bigger
My response is I have no critical thinking skills, so I don't know what to say.
problem than solution. I don't know who dictates what's a problem and solution. Like, we're going to go
people
by
who are in law enforcement who've been trained, who put together these sting operations.
Yeah, because really when it comes down to it is like law enforcement know the law better and they follow the law. Like they can't create the law. So this is something that we have to like start with like from a legislative perspective on how to deal with predators or pedophiles. And honestly, part of it's going to have to be like allowing pedophiles to step forward before they get to the point where they actually harm a child. To like get the mental health help. Yeah, mental health help that they need before they do anything that would harm a child. Because once you do that, we send it to the island.
Do them and have a conviction rate.
I respect Chris Hansen.
Correct.
People who are professionals and who abide by the Constitution, and they get plea bargains and guilty verdicts and things that we see in our investigations. And this isn't, Chris's predator investigations are better than Alex's or CC units. This is law enforcement saying you guys are a bigger problem than a solution.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when it comes to big people like EDP, I think that like something is better than nothing. Deplatforming him so he can't use that platform to harm children makes sense. That's how I responded to that. Well, there are people when it comes to smaller fish, it probably isn't helping that much in particular. I mean, maybe just submitting the information over to law enforcement before there's a meetup to see if the law enforcement... See, that would be the best way to go. So if you were going to do that, if you were going to catch like people, you would like get a bunch of information about meeting up, send it to law enforcement, see what they would want to do with it, that kind of a thing. But they generally wouldn't encourage the behavior.
Well,
and that you're dangerous, reckless, and you're vigilantes.
When this guy... When this guy's been living in Sydney, Nebraska for 45 years, all 45 years he's been living in Sydney, Nebraska, and it takes somebody coming up from Houston, driving 20 hours to go confront him and then bring that to law enforcement in order for him to stop preying on children, that's definitely not us being a problem. If we sit around for government to just come and save us, I'm not crapping on police. This doesn't get enough attention. This brings attention to it. So,
so weird.
The convictions or arrests that we do get, that's an added plus. But me and CC Unit do a great job of spreading awareness because now parents know about this. Parents know about it's going to take, in the end, we can't.
It's not necessarily wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge is like police, either they don't care about this stuff or what. I don't know why. So people doing stuff like this, it's either this or nothing. But I can see why the police wouldn't want to encourage the behavior.
We can't rely on government to save us. It's going to take people, private citizens, to come together, educate their children, have children be educated themselves. Because the online predator issue ends when parents and children are, on the same page, working together, knowing that these dangers exist. And we do a great job of spreading that. So, and not all law enforcement disagrees with us. Some do, of course, some don't. But the fact is, we don't rely on government to go solve a problem. We go get it and we do it ourselves. And oftentimes, well, semi-often, I should say, they like what we're doing. And
it's just this weird, like, why it becomes political kind of, because he's like, we don't want to wait for the government to do it. It's like, okay, dude, chill out. Like, you don't need to be like all like conservative in order to do this stuff. You could simply say that we don't think that the police are prioritizing this enough, and so we feel the need to go after it ourselves. That's what we really need to do.
Help us out. So I wouldn't say, and now, of course, if I had the opportunity to go put them all in handcuffs, I would, but we don't. So at the very least, we spread awareness. At the semi-least, we get them fired from their jobs. At most, we have them convicted. So I wouldn't call it a problem at all.
Ghost, are you a vigilante?
No.
Why not?
Chet, jump in. You got to save him.
I'm an activist.
Oh, he's already going to talk.
Like Alex said, I consider also myself like an activist. All we really do is we document, we film, and then we expose. We don't play hands on these guys unless it's for self-defense. Then yeah, but
he's ready to
we
jump
don't
in at any
arrest
time.
them.
Look,
We
his
don't
mouth's
put them
open.
under citizens arrest, which we can do by law, but we don't even do that. So yeah, I consider myself an activist. We don't take the law into our own hands.
Recently, somebody who does something very similar was arrested himself in St. Louis for holding somebody against their will. Law enforcement sending a strong signal that this kind of vigilantism is dangerous and could potentially be irresponsible and backfire.
The thing is, a lot of these other people that do it,
Just let the guy talk.
I agree with you. Some of these people do it for the
You
wrong
see what I'm
reasons.
saying, Ghost?
We do.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, nobody stands up against predators the way I have. I mean, I get it. I
Big
see your
balls.
enthusiasm here.
Yeah, but Chris,
Yeah, but Chris, you never call them the N-word. So how the fuck could you call yourself a predator catcher if you've never said the N-word to them? Like, I don't understand, Chris. Like, you're not a real predator catcher.
Going to defend predators. It's your methodology and the other character issues that go along with it that people are raising as questions.
It depends on the catcher, honestly. Whoever the catcher is, they have to have good morals. They have to do it for the right reasons, and they have to be smart. If you're not smart,
So moral right reasons going to assume that this is what he does it for. This guy just does it to bully people who he feels are justified to bully, so that like people get uncomfortable and they're like, hey, maybe this isn't professional. Because I'm pretty sure that's really it. I think he just likes to bully people, and he knows he can't just bully everybody. So he's like, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna just bully predators or people with some of which have like a legitimate mental disorder. Rather than like add an air of professionalism and be like, hey, this is wrong. He's like, hey, I'm gonna like, hey, you're stupid and you're dumb and you're fat and all this other stuff. And they kind of just go. That's his general MO. A very unprofessional perspective on it, right? What this guy's doing, I support it. What this guy's doing, I don't support it.
in this type of field, you're not going to survive. You're going to get arrested. You're going to get in some type of lawsuit. And the people like you said, the guy from St. Louis, I don't even know who you're referring to, but if he did hold the guy against his will, then that's on him. He's not very smart.
Yeah, and
I don't really need you to talk anymore.
I've
We've
seen
got
chats
plenty of
too where they're like, when basically the predators, the predator might as well just be like with the decoy at this point. They're like, oh, by the way, I'm underage, and that's bullshit. And when they don't even talk sexual and they go confront them anyway, that's kind of BS too. But the way we do it is, if you look at our chat logs, we're very, there's no disputing that we catch child predators. And you can say the same thing about cops. No matter what you think about the situation and, with George Floyd, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, not every cop is like that. That'll just do that. So you can't judge.
Of course, I'd like tune out for like a second. What?
And you can say the same thing about, we're very, there's no disputing that we catch child predators. And you can say the same thing about cops. No matter what you think about the situation and, with George Floyd, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, not every cop is like that. That'll just.
What the fuck is he bringing up George Floyd for? Hey, George Floyd, why? Why did he need to be in here? Chris Hansen seems like a pretty pro-cop guy. It's not like it's not like you need to convince Chris Hansen that not all cops are bad. You just threw like a casual George Floyd in there. Like, for what? What was the point of that? It didn't help with what happened. Hey, George Floyd,
do that. So you can't judge one cop and say, oh, they're all pigs. Just like you can't judge, a retarded predator catcher.
Bro, is he calling himself retarded? Like, I don't understand.
And saying, oh no, they're all just stupid. No, it's.
Oh, okay, I know, because he would be, by his own classification, the retarded predator catcher. This other guy was just trying to do the right thing, and he took it too far. But I don't really know why. Why are you even saying that? I mean, what is happening? Like, just completely unprofessional. It just doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand.
It's like we should be based off individuals. Like what CC Unit does, he's responsible for his actions, and same with him and me.
Just so you know, this guy's career is pretty much fucked anyway. Like if this could have been the moment where they could have had like a dialogue with Chris Hansen, like they could have been somewhat or semi-regularly associated with Chris Hansen, it's dead. The unprofessionalism is dead. If you came onto the platform and you had like a cordial conversation and you like did it the right way, and if you were more professional, like if he handled the EDP situation, this is the great part. If he handled the EDP situation more professionally, this could have been like a big career for him and for him. But because of how unprofessional it was, it's dead. These two look stupid now. I feel bad for this guy because he's just letting Alex steamroll him in his perspective. But like, this is crazy. Like, if I was this guy, I would have been speaking up. I would have been like, no, honestly, I think that the racism is disgusting. Frankly, I look back and look at how unprofessional we handled it, and I wish that we handled it better. It would have shown a lot of growth, and people would have been like more inclined to follow you and support you. Maybe even Chris Hansen himself. I mean, this is literally this is the top tier of vigilante. I know Chris Hansen wouldn't call himself that, but this would be like, this is the goal for most of these vigilante predator catchers, and they shit on their entire opportunity. And this is what I was talking about when I had the conversation with Alex about how just disgusting and how like unprofessional he is, and how it's gonna fuck him in the future, and he's fucking everybody around him.
I'm responsible for my actions. One retard in St. Louis
Again,
does not
just
mean
shoot
that
it
me
off.
and CC units suddenly don't catch
But people
predators
could say the same thing about you, Alex, who...
Oh my god! Holy shit! Bro, I fucking love Chris Hansen. I'm gonna subscribe to him right now. Bro, holy shit. Bro, he called him a retard. I'm sorry, but like when you're sitting there like an unprofessional douchebag throwing around like the fucking R word like that, Chris Hansen's like, well, people can call you that too. Yes, everybody has been in our heads. We haven't been saying it because we know that we probably shouldn't say that word, but we've been thinking it. We've definitely been thinking it. And I love it. And I'm fucking here for it. And this is the most exciting part of my fucking day.
Used racist language in past videos, and now suddenly you're all grown up and you have the character to go after predators after
No, he never grew up. He didn't even apologize.
The work you do?
If it taints it to you, then maybe. If it taints
quite literally, Chris Hansen is like he would be the perspective on when does it or does it not taint it. Everybody has been saying that it taints it. Every single person, unanimously. And now you have Chris Hansen. Literally, this is the person that you're aspiring to be. And you're saying that like, well, you're a fucking idiot. Well, if it taints it to you. He's the one. He is the authority figure here. He is your goal. And even him saying like, bro, this is bad. He's like, no, it's just maybe to you, maybe to fucking everybody, bro.
Well, I think it taints it to society. We all know that the language you used is inappropriate at best and offensive as well.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is, okay?
I'm not going to comment on it past this, but a clip of me saying something offensive does not dictate the chat, does not change the chat logs of the predators, does not change that we get people.
You just can't say sorry.
We get cops to go arrest
He
these
loves
people.
the N-word, bro.
But it becomes significant in that EDP is black. And did that have anything to do with you going after him?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but listen, I don't think I would go that far. I think that Chet or Alex just loves to bully people. Like I said before, he needs to find somebody justifiable to bully. So he goes after people, a lot of which do have like mental disorders, not EDP, outside of being a pedophile. I suppose that is a mental disorder. I don't think that there's a black aspect there because he loved EDP. So I think that that's a bit of a miss. But from an outsider's perspective, from somebody who isn't like ingrained in internet culture, like ourselves, we're internet connoisseurs. We, especially myself and some of my edgier followers, we are edgy. We understand that like Chet, he probably doesn't hate black people. He just doesn't respect black people. That's why he uses the N-word, right? And like there's not an understanding because he loved EDP. He was like, this guy's so great. I love it how he uses the N-word, just like I feel like I should be able to use, you know. But hey, it's a reasonable question from like somebody who's very disconnected from internet culture. I mean, Chris Hansen's like fucking 61 years old. You think that he's educated on it? Most outsiders would be like, yeah, you know what? That's a reasonable question.
No, we mostly catch white people. Not at all. We catch people that want to rape little kids. I don't care that EDP's black. And we didn't use any racial language to him. We had no intention of doing that. I don't care what color someone is. Me saying a word in a clip 2 years ago does not
that you defended a month ago on my stream. Yeah.
That's kind of that's a far out thing to say. It has nothing to do with him being black. Like, in fact, what I notice is most child predators are white. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't really come across many black child predators.
I don't know if that is or isn't true. It seems like there's not as much of an interest in like to go after black predators. I don't know. Maybe I really have no fucking idea why. Maybe it is true. Maybe white people are worse.
The reason why we caught EDP is because he wanted to go rape a kid, and that's it. There's no other reason.
Getting very upset now.
EDP says that he was going to pursue defamation charges, civil charges against you. Do you fear that at all?
No, I don't. Defamation means that someone has to be maliciously lying about you. And if he can name a single lie that I told about him, I'd love to. I'd love him to. I mean,
wouldn't it have made it easier to defend your position if you didn't like troll the fuck out of him when you caught him and you dealt with it like in a very professional manner?
I will be waiting.
What's next for you, Alex?
So right now we have our website going, and hopefully the content will be back on YouTube, but we are going to be posting on this public platform coming up soon. And right now we have no intentions to stop. This is something we're passionate about doing, and we just got 8 catches on this trip to the Northwest. We had 3 people like that we were supposed to catch, but we just caught more like grinder people and all that. So, what's next for us is the next day, and, we're just going to keep moving forward no matter how many hits we take. So, yeah.
In the aftermath of this, Ghost, do you believe you'd have been better off had you done the confrontation on your own?
I love it. I love it. I love the question. I love the question. Gotta love these questions. Fuck. Here we go.
I mean, he's the one who brought it to me, so if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have even been there.
Alex is so upset.
Looking
right
back
now.
on the video, Alex, do you wish you had taken a different tone with EDP? Again, nobody's defending what EDP is.
No,
it's sick, bad stuff, right? And I challenge you because that's how I do interviews. But
yeah, of course.
Do you wish you hadn't gone down that road the way you did with him and been more serious and perhaps had some more credibility?
This is it. This could be the first marginal, slight, tippy-toe step towards Alex growing as an individual. If he says yes.
About this whole thing.
I wish we got him to admit more times. 44 may not have been enough.
And he instantly peters that away by going off and talking about how we got him to admit stuff a bunch of times, rather than just being like, yeah, maybe I should have been more professional. He effectively just said no.
Maybe, I guess, but we got him to admit stuff 44 times. So I think, and the detective said himself, there's good evidence on him. And, most credit goes to, besides CC Unit driving us and helping with the confrontation, most credit goes to the decoys who got him to, who they had to see this nasty crap that he sent. And you know what? No, he needs to be nailed. And he's talked to multiple underage kids, and credit goes to one of them. I'm not going to say her name. I'm just going to call her D. Shout out to her for speaking out about the guy. So, it's a team effort to get his ass arrested. So, if he's in jail, then not much I can say about that. So let's hope that happens.
Gentlemen, anything else you want people to know tonight before we wrap up with your interview?
Well, thank you for having us on, Chris. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, thank you so
Ghost,
much, Mr.
any
Hansen.
final thoughts?
That was great. Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Mr. Hansen. Hopefully one day we can collab.
I feel so bad for this young man. Bro. But Alex just ruined any chance of that happening.
Great.
All right. Guys, thanks very much for...
All right. Oh, it was so painful to hear that. I honestly feel like if CC Unit he could have stood up for himself at the end there and be like, you know what? Seeing how unprofessional it was, maybe I shouldn't have worked with him. And that might have made Chris Hansen respect him. But I don't think that there's going to be a collab coming soon, guys. Unfortunately, Alex has ruined that for everybody.
For being on, I appreciate it. Speak soon.
Yeah, appreciate you too, man.
Take care.
Daniel Warner is a lawyer from Scottsdale, Arizona.
All right,
who
there's
specializes
still
in defamation
more.
cases.
All right, I'm going to grab something to eat real quick, come back, we'll bang out the rest of this video. I'll be right back, guys, okay? Let's finish the rest of the segment while I eat. Probably going to push the microphone away from me a little bit so you don't hear me chewing. Here we go.
Social media and the internet. Daniel, thanks for being on the show tonight and having a seat with me. How are you?
Good. How are you, Chris?
It's an interesting angle that you chose, my friend.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here. You've dug into this EDP445 case a little bit for us to give us your legal impressions. Essentially, we have a case here where this guy was a very controversial content creator on YouTube. He made a lot of money, millions of followers, was on other social media platforms as well. And there was a rumor about that he was having inappropriate contact with kids underage, girls underage. And there was some other potentially inappropriate content. So 2 vigilantes.
And according to EDP, the kids were just too sexy. That's what he said. He's like, oh, they dress so sexy. It's not my fault.
Matt Goldstein and a fellow who goes by CC Unit set up a vigilante sting. and they set up a profile with a 13-year-old girl. EDP445 shows up. They confront him. And it would appear, even though we always worry about these vigilantes.
Set EDP, eat that pussy, 445 equals 13. Eat that pussy 13, bro. That's how he likes him.
Stings that there's something there, that he did something inappropriate. By he, I mean EDP445. But there are no criminal charges filed, and I would venture to predict that there won't be, because this was a vigilante case and they're very hard prosecutions to make. Given all that, and if EDP445...
I wonder, because I said like the vigilante things are hard to push. I wonder if the police feel less incentivized to push these vigilante cases so that they don't encourage more vigilante justice. You know? Like, I kind of wonder if that's part of it, which would be unfortunate. I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying.
is never prosecuted. Does he have a case against the vigilantes for some sort of defamation?
You know, based on your synopsis, Chris, and the facts as I understand them, I would be inclined to say probably not.
That's good.
With the qualification that, you know, anybody can file a defamation lawsuit for any reason, and, you know, sometimes it will go longer than other cases, even if it's absolutely frivolous, but just technically speaking, it doesn't sound like it. I mean, truth or substantial truth is an affirmative defense when it comes to defamation. That's pretty much black letter law in every state. And that sounds like what we have here. Obviously, you know, depending on how people are portraying the situation and everything else, it's very factually intensive, and there's a lot of factual nuances. And one little fact can change the whole analysis. But generally speaking, I don't believe that he would have a case.
These transcripts that Chet Goldstein and CC Unit have are pretty blatant. I suppose there's some outside chance that they were doctored in some way, and because they're not obtained by law enforcement or somebody who's deputized by law enforcement, I guess that raises some questions. But if he filed a lawsuit, EDP 445, wouldn't that open him up to discovery and more issues, and perhaps even expose him to some criminal prosecution, because prosecutors could get some information that's on the record? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I wonder if he did do that, if that would open him up to have to like forcefully hand over his phone so that they can see what he was saying. I wonder if that's a thing.
Absolutely, Chris. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is putting those issues at play. And typically in a defamation lawsuit, the affirmative defense, truth is an affirmative defense. But because it's an affirmative defense, the defendant has a chance to serve discovery regarding that defense and all of the issues related to that defense. So
would those transcripts, do you think, Daniel, I'm sorry to cut you off, would those transcripts be admissible?
In the defamation case, they likely would be, depending. I mean, I could think of a couple ways you could get those into evidence. Also, I mean, he's pretty much claiming that they were fake or they're forgeries, so he's actually putting those at issue and their authenticity as well.
And so would it be up to him to prove they were fake, or would it be up to the defense in this case to prove that in fact they were authentic?
That's a great question, Chris. And I think it depends on how these issues are raised and actually what state as well. For example, in my home state, Arizona, something that's per se defamatory is presumed as a matter of law to be false and malicious.
Got it.
Now, there are exceptions to that, but generally speaking, that's the presumption. In some other states, you don't get that presumption. So that could have something to do with it. And also just generally how this issue was raised. It sounds like he would be raising it to demonstrate that the statements are in fact false. And because we have a matter of public concern, there's a good chance that he would have to demonstrate falsity.
Now, both sides in this have been taken off of YouTube. And while I'm a ardent defender of the First Amendment, I can understand why they would make that decision in these cases because, you know, there's some very crass, inappropriate content. And in the case of Chet Goldstein, there were some racially insensitive, offensive remarks made in his content on his YouTube channel. What kind of a thorny issue is this for YouTube? And I've gone back and forth with them for years now. And finally, one of the targets of our stories was demonetized, but not deplatformed. How difficult is it for a platform like YouTube to make a decision without criminal charges to deplatform somebody, to take away somebody's livelihood?
I think based on what we've seen throughout this recent election, it can be pretty easy for them to essentially do what they want. And they have a substantial amount of discretion under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, as well as their terms and conditions. So they essentially have carte blanche to do whatever they want.
So you wouldn't think that EDP then has any sort of legal recourse in terms of getting his channel back or anything like that? YouTube owns that real estate, essentially.
Essentially, they can do whatever they want. Even if it comes out that he was innocent by some, chance, they could still do whatever they want.
It's their playground.
Correct.
You've been involved in defamation cases, social media, internet cases. You ever see anything quite like this? And given the nature of the internet, does anything surprise you?
The longer I do this, the less that surprises me. I've seen some crazy, crazy things, and this is something that is a new one. I will say that. But I guess I'm not surprised. I mean, absolutely not. It's just a horse of another color at this point.
And then we have the added issue of law enforcement frowning upon vigilantes doing this kind of work online. In fact, there was a fellow prosecuted just within the last 2 weeks in St. Louis for detaining somebody who was an alleged predator who surfaced in this vigilante sting. And they're prosecuting him now, but not the vigilante. I would think legally this vigilante activity is risky at best.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, you never know how people are going to react. And if you don't have law enforcement with you, and probably better than 99.9% of the people how that should work and how that does work, and it works well when you have law enforcement with you. Taking that risk is probably not going to help anyone in the long run. I mean,
Let me ask you this,
Sure.
Daniel, because I think it's interesting. If you are a content creator, a drama channel, and I don't consider myself a drama channel, although some of the topics we cover here on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen are certainly dramatic.
Are you asking me a question, Chris Hansen?
But if you are a drama channel and part of what you do is...
He's asking it to me. You guys didn't catch that. Listen to this.
But if you are a drama channel...
My name is Daniel. This is my drama channel. He's talking about me.
Channel, and part of what you do is take on controversial topics. That's what you do. How do you make sure you don't cross the line and defame somebody, thus exposing yourself to a defamation lawsuit?
I think it's important to just keep the facts as the facts. Oftentimes in the cases, that I deal with, people add kind of their own element to things, and that's where they get in trouble. They want to embellish certain facts. They want to take stuff out of context rather than just keeping the facts plain and simple as they are. And sometimes what the facts are is actually in debate and can be an issue. So it's important to know the facts. It's important to be able to substantiate the facts. And if you're not sure exactly what the facts are, that you convey that and say, from my understanding based on XYZ, here are the facts. If you do that, you're more likely to keep yourself out of trouble.
So all I gotta say is, from my understanding of the facts, and then I can pretty much lie through my fucking teeth. Is that what he's saying?
Storyteller, a reporter, if you just report it the way it is and avoid using, language that locks something in. In other words, if you're sharing your observations and being transparent about your methodology, you're pretty safe. It's when you step over that line and use language that just isn't exactly descriptive of what happened by trying to embellish. That's when it seems like people get into trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I also am doing a case now where there's an issue with an alleged journalist, and a one-sided report, and it was one of those cases where he kind of...
Hold on, what are we at? 12, 22...
CC unit and predator poachers in May. They'd already had two
language that is because
information that didn't really suit his narrative, and that's something that I am dealing with now.
Would this be considered a citizen journalist?
I believe it would. Yes, it's not a professional journalist.
Which raises a lot of issues, and I'm not trying to goalkeep here or say that only guys who've been reporters for X number of years can do this sort of work, because I think there was a very important role for citizen journalists in the digital era. But it raises a lot of questions because, the standards in terms of service and rules of the road that I've always abided by, that I've always been taught and had to sign documents on, are pretty straightforward. And I've lived by those rules for 40 years, but somebody who just decides one day to have a YouTube channel and put his reporter hat on.
This guy really doesn't like YouTube.
Is sensitive.
Or doesn't like YouTube small content creators, I guess.
Jesus.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Very important elements.
Don't hurt me.
Of what we do as journalists.
Absolutely, and professionals are professionals for a reason.
True.
And that's often what we see is a lack of objectivity and essentially an agenda and a narrative that they want to create.
That is all over the internet.
What dangers do you see, or what culpability do you see in a situation where, for instance, somebody puts together a report, whether print or video, and in that report there is balance, there is fact-based reporting, but then in an attempt to promote that piece of work, that person goes on Twitter and says something that is just absolutely untrue. Is there liability there?
It's a good question, and
I mean, you see that a lot these days because people are teasing stuff, and look, I use social media all the time.
I'm just gonna be. This isn't particularly interesting to me, so I'm gonna fucking.
Stories, my podcast, this show, television shows that I've got going on Discovery Plus. So I use it too. But if you omit something knowingly in an effort
12
to
minutes left, we'll try to get it done.
Somebody's name to promote their product, is there liability there?
The other very well could be.
It's mostly just talking about lying on the internet and whatnot.
There's a big risk there. Because everybody wants to obviously have the catchy headline, because that's what's going to bring in the views, so they can actually get the meat and potatoes of the story. But yeah, that's absolutely one of the risks. So, in that circumstance, I would maybe have a link to the story, so there's a full, everything that should be said is there. And there is some case law on headlines and such, but the question becomes, is a tweet a headline?
Right. But what if the tweet says something that is knowingly false and it causes harm, is there liability there to somebody's reputation or somebody's commerce?
Yeah, that's likely to be problematic, in my opinion, and generally speaking, of course, but I think that's more likely to be problematic.
So someone who knowingly puts out a tweet that is false in an effort to promote a story that may be more balanced could be held liable in a defamation case.
I certainly think it's possible. I mean, that meets the malice standard with knowingly publishing something that's false or recklessly disregarding the truth. And if all the elements are there, then yeah, absolutely.
Are there a couple of rules that, as a lawyer dealing with defamation cases, especially having to do with social media and the internet, are there a couple of things that you can say in a cautionary, helpful way to content creators who may be watching this?
Hey, Chris knows. He's like, I know you fucking assholes are watching this just to react to it, you piece of shit.
I would just say stick with the facts as you know them, and if you're not sure, then say you're not sure. Don't try to make an affirmative statement when you're not 110% sure that that statement is true.
All right.
That's really the most important.
Yeah, they don't sound too slow. Even
Daniel
though,
Warner from Scottsdale,
fast,
Arizona.
even though
Thank
they're
you
on
very
like
much for being
fast
with us
speed.
and sharing your insights into this, and we'll stay in touch and love to have you on again.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
You know, the question begs, Wes, without people exposing guys like EDP445, does YouTube ever take action here, or is this just allowed to continue?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, for what I've seen, it's allowed to continue until it gets so loud, like with the Austin Jones situation, that they just can't ignore it. And this video, the video that CC Unit and Predator Poachers have made, it already had 2 million views in just a matter of days. The major press was starting to pick up on these things, so they couldn't just let it sit there. So that's why they took such a quick action.
Hold on a second, I missed it.
The question begs, Wes, without people exposing guys like EDP445, does YouTube ever take action here, or is this just allowed to continue?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, for what I've seen, it's allowed to continue until it gets so loud, like with the Austin Jones situation, that they just can't ignore it.
Yeah, it's true. Like YouTube doesn't give a fuck about pedophiles. Like, think about it. Like, James Charles, very inappropriate behavior with minors. 14 to 16. He's 22, maybe 20, I believe. Multiple times. It didn't just happen like one time and he's like, okay, stop. He just kept doing it. And YouTube finally demonetized him after like a really heavy campaign against him. And what they said is that like they didn't even say the reason. They were like, "Hey, we're just going in a different direction right now." Like that's all that they said. So they don't really give a shit.
And this video,
and you could be like, "Well, they have to have a liability. They don't know if it's a fact." But they're reacting to like social pressures. They just want to remain palatable.
The video that CC Unit and Predator Poachers have made, it already had 2 million views in just a matter of days. The major press was starting to pick up on these things, so they couldn't just let it sit there. So that's why they took such a quick action. But otherwise, yeah, I think it continues. He's making money for them, and everyone's happy.
There you go.
Well, the same thing is true with Onision, who they allowed to engage in sexual harassment and bullying and all kinds of other violations of the YouTube terms of service until we literally, in the series that's out on Discovery Plus right now, Onision in Real Life, intercut Onision videos with the terms of service, good touch, bad touch video. It wasn't until then that YouTube took action against Onision and demonetized his platform.
Well, it's important to remember that these are all, even if we're not paying to use a Google search or paying to use YouTube, it is a business, and just it's Pride. When you're talking about Pride Month, how many companies are running promotions talking about Pride, but they're also on the back end donating to politicians who want to make it illegal make gay marriage illegal or trans rights, and they want to do away with these things, but they'll gladly advertise that they're big on Pride. So these are businesses, and you people. The most noise you can make, just like when you're boycotting a bus, is with your pocketbook. So if you're saying, hey, I'm not going to support this and I'm not going to use YouTube at all until this person's taken off, that's the only way they're going to listen. And that story getting out there as big as it did was really bad news for YouTube, so they stepped up really quickly. And that's also why Alex was terminated at the same time.
Right, so he gets terminated because of his involvement here, and also one can presume because of the racially insensitive offensive remarks that he has made historically.
I'm sure I could go on YouTube and in 20 seconds find videos just as bad, if not worse, that have been there for years. But it's the collateral damage that because these videos existed and he was in the realm of this other story that was also just ballooning into something much bigger, he also needed to be taken down along with EDP.
The question begs, Wes, if he was caught, EDP445, doing this with Predator Poachers by Alex and Ghost of CC Unit, how many other times has he done it when it hasn't been a vigilante sting and potentially has gotten away with it?
Well, and it's a really good question. I mean, he admits to being caught during that confrontation with Alex and Ghost. He admits to being caught at least 6 times. And I don't think anyone strikes out 6 for 6 and keeps going. So there have to have been some successes, I would imagine, or you wouldn't continue. That would just be incredibly bad luck. But the way that, from being a fan of To Catch a Predator and watching that show, you see when they walk in almost bold, he didn't seem to have any apprehension walking up to that apartment.
There was a sense of impunity almost that he had this coming to him.
Well, it didn't seem at all like a first time thing or something foreign to him going to visit, this 13-year-old that he thought, and not for the cupcake, like he said. I mean, he admitted what he was there for during the confrontation, only to afterwards change his whole story, and now it's a setup and everything else. But I also saw that with the TCAT Predators. They would admit to everything while they were there, then as soon as the lights were off the camera and they realized what they admitted to and what had happened, they wanted to change their stories.
Exactly, and we should say that EDP445, Bryant Moreland, has denied actually trying to have sex with an underage girl. He claims he was set up. He claims the transcripts provided by Predator Poachers and CC Unit were somehow doctored or falsified. We offered, as you may know by now, EDP445 a chance to be interviewed as part of this story.
They got to give him that money, dude. $17,000.
Do that, Wes. You're the one who actually had contact with his people.
Well, yeah, so we kind of went back and forth over the course of a few weeks.
His people? He still has people?
At first, it was a tentative agreement, and then it went to he was turning it down, and then we had another tentative agreement, but then it was followed up with, well, are you willing to pay? And I mean, I don't pay for interviews. I know that's not something you do. So, but I wanted to know what amount that they're looking for, because it's very strange to me personally, that someone who wanted to proclaim their innocence would want money to do that. And so I asked what amount they were looking for, and $17,000.
Where does he come up with a number like $17,000, and what is it based on? Not that we pay 17 cents, but who does that? It's like when Onision said he wanted $375,000 or $350,000, whatever it was, to appear on the show when we started reporting on him. I mean, it's ludicrous.
Well, and it's just different because, when you're talking about Onision, he felt like he was on the defensive. EDP's claiming that he's 100% innocent, and he wants to explain his innocence. So why such a huge sum, $17,000 to go somewhere that's willing to give you a platform? Because he's been deplatformed everywhere. Go somewhere where they're willing to let you talk and explain your side. You said you have evidence proving that you're innocent. Why would you be afraid to share that?
Does he come back and come anywhere close to the 2 million subscribers he had on any platform? I mean, I just can't imagine why anybody would watch this guy anyway, but apparently, he's got some
no, I don't think he can come back because, like I said, it's a business, and who's gonna want to support him as a sponsor? Who's going to be comfortable with that? Because as soon as someone's ad runs on one of his videos and someone complains that I saw your ad run before the video of this person who is on video showing up to meet a 13-year-old, then that person threatens to pull their money from Google entirely. If that's so, no one's going to be willing to sponsor him. No one's going to be willing to. And then who's going to be? He has a website now, or he's talking about a website. It still hasn't launched. Weeks late, and he's charging. It's going to be a membership website, and he's talking about doing meet and greets with people. Yeah. And I mean, like, I can't think of for his own safety, a worse thing to try and offer than meet and greets, where people are going to be coming up to him hypothetically and I don't know, shaking his hand, or I don't know what he expects. But it's a desperate move, obviously, when he has nothing else. He's going to try and do this paid membership site because he knows that no one's going to support him as a sponsor.
Does anything surprise you about YouTube anymore?
No.
All right. Wes Most, as always, thank you for the collaboration. Thank you for your diligent, intelligent, and very creative work. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Chris.
We will, Wes and I, continue to monitor the EDP445 situation, the case. We are told that law enforcement and prosecutors potentially are interested in picking this up, and we will stay in touch on that front. We thank you once again for having a seat here with me. A reminder that the 4th episode in our series Onision in Real Life has dropped and is now out. Sarah Speaks on Discovery Plus. Our continued coverage of the Peter Nygaard investigation, Unseemly, is also out on Discovery Plus. My podcast, Predators I've Caught with Chris Hansen, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other podcast platform. So check all that out. We're going to have some more Predator investigations coming up on TV and right here on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. If we don't see you beforehand, have a wonderful Father's Day, all you dads out there, and we will have a seat with you very soon. Remember, I'll be watching.
Fucking, his house is very clean. That's all I'd say. Well, that was something. That was something in general. Hey everyone, if you liked that video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow my Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and TikTok. All links are in the description. Also, check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me even more than you already do. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you all.